would you be now about love?
What we will be showcasing in the next 2 days is a chef showcase with 5 fabulous chefs that you will get to meet.
I hope your scallops and everything was delicious.
Chef Nikolai. He had seared octopus. It was really good.
Really good.
Unbelievable. Great.
Good mix of
Thumbs up.
ingredients.
Delicious.
All right, Dania. Dania, how you doing out there, Dania?
When I saw you and that girl walking around, I would rather go blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me. Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm the way you look was waiting me uncompared. How could I dance with another? Let me hear you, Dania. And I saw her standing there.
But now it's much too late for me to take a second look. Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Won't you please let me? Must be love on the brain that's got me feeling this way. It beats me black and blue, but it gets me so good, and I can't get enough. Must be love on the brain.
I'm going to ask you all to help me on the count of 3. Say, see it, live it, love it. 1, 2, 3. See it, live it.
Come together. Come together.
Dania Beach is the perfect place to see it, live it, love it.
Dolphin, dolphin, dolphin. Looking good. Go. Heads up. Heads down. Heads down.
Gabby,
2, 3,
look at that.
Four,
Your body needs to be straight.
5,
Nope.
Six.
That's the opposite. Nope.
7.
Right there.
Down. Up. Down. Up. Bryce, that's just mean. Why do you do that to him? He's your coach. You still have good control. Okay? Now I can come across. Flip right.
this beautiful hot beach today, and it's summer camp for the junior lifeguard. Let's hear a little bit what this means.
They learn paddle boards, they learn rescues, they learn sighting out in the ocean, they learn species identification, they learn teamwork. We do a lot of relay events.
This is really unique. It's the only camp where you're learning to save someone's life. There's no other camp around that they're going to learn surf life-saving skills.
Usually I have to save like Gabby or somebody that I know personally, and it makes
Good evening. This is the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. It is Monday, October 7, 2019 at 7 o'clock p.m. Will you please call the roll?
Mayor Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
City Manager Garcia.
Here.
City Attorney Ansborough.
Here.
And can you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? And can you also please join me for a moment of silence? Thank you. Next up is presentations and special event approvals. First item is Ocean Park at Dania Beach update by Kenneth Krasno, Vice Chairman, Colliers International. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Ken Krasnow, Vice Chairman of Colliers International. I'm here today to give you a quick update on Ocean Park. I think we have a presentation. I think we do.
Do we need protocol?
That's it.
Do we turn on down the lights?
Sure. Again, so the goal here is to be communicative and give you just a quick snapshot of where we are to date. Once you pull up the slideshow there.
Oh, that one.
Yep, that looks better. That's good. Okay.
How come we don't have it over there?
I do not.
Why is it broke?
That's a clicker. This go? Whoop. There we go. Sorry if you can't read that, but I did want to reiterate, some of the goals and objectives of our plan here. First and foremost is to create a unique, and I stress the word unique, world-class beach experience in accordance with the approved master plan that you all approved in 2014. 2, to continue the redevelopment renaissance and the momentum that we're all experiencing here in Dania Beach. 3, equally important, is to re-nourish and fortify the beach for the next generation. 4 is to rebrand Ocean Park as a world-class research and development, marina, and education area. And last but not least, to attract new restaurants and amenities of varied offerings, providing additional open space and other features for the entire community. So those are the broad range goals and objectives. Our current plan of action, we were brought on a couple of months ago to execute on the master plan. We've been working very diligently with City Manager Garcia and staff. We're in the initial stages of preparing a RFQ, which is a request for qualifications. We have started preliminary marketing materials, similar to the materials that you saw when we went out to the market for the Dania Civic Center. Importantly, though, there are a number of other stakeholders that have interest in the beach area. In, again, no particular order. FAU obviously has a presence at the beach for their CTEC and NAVSEA, which is part of the U.S. government. FDOT, which controls some of the land. I'll show you that in a second. And there are some additional parcels. One's owned by a private investor, the other's owned by the city of Hollywood. So we've been spending some time really trying to understand some of the issues with some of the additional, I'll call them stakeholders that you have at the beach, because they are all sort of important to the long-term plan here. We have assembled what I think is a world-class team to execute on this vision. Obviously, city manager is going to take the lead here, reporting to the commission. My team at Colliers that I think you're familiar with, Brooke Berkowitz, Bradley Arendt on the brokerage side, our marketing and research team, again, very similar to the team that we put together for the Civic Center. I'm excited to tell you that we've added Commissioner Tim Ryan, who I think you all know as part of our team, obviously currently serves as county commissioner, is really going to spearhead some of the high-level discussions that we're going to need to have with both FDOT, with FAU, and obviously as we get further into the plan, engaging the entire community in terms of what we're going to execute there. And then obviously Mark LaFerriere, Tom, Candido, you have a tremendous, city staff team. I didn't want to list everybody there, but obviously, so I think we've all got, we're kind of the external market. Commissioner Ryan is going to focus on some of the stakeholders, including the current citizens, and then obviously city staff is going to make sure that everything is all, buttoned up. So just again, to reiterate, this is obviously something you guys have already seen and approved, but this is sort of an overview of the approved master plan. Conceptual, there are a few things here. The area on the left there, or on the right, depending on where you're looking, is the partial that's owned by Hollywood and the other investor. The big pink kind of semicircle there is where FDOT, FAU, potentially some additional parking is going to come into place as we look to fortify the beach. So those kind of big pink areas there are areas where we're going to obviously need to spend some time and attention. And then obviously in the green, the open space, the rebuilding of the Dania Park Grill, adding some new additional restaurants and some new amenities. All of that are kind of part of the vision. But the big areas, again, that we really need to get some clarity on before we really engage the market is with regards to FAU and FDOT. FAU is committed to making this facility a truly world-class research, oceanographic, and educational facility. And we think that that's got tremendous attributes for the city as a whole. So those are some of the outstanding issues that we're sort of currently in the mix of now. With regards to FDOT, as I said, they control a piece of the land. You don't, the city doesn't own it. So we are looking at acquisition versus donation. If they donate the land to the city, there's certain requirements that has to stay in public use. If there's just a straight out acquisition, obviously you can do whatever you want with it. We're in the middle of analyzing both of those options. Regardless, we're going to need an appraisal of that parcel so we understand the value, so we're undergoing that now. And then, as I said before, we've had numerous meetings with FAU. As you know, they're on a 99-year lease, but they are interested, more importantly, in expanding, as I said, the facilities that are there, the research that's there. So their two big concerns are both capital. They want to invest in the facility. Do they have the capital to do so? And security. A lot of the stuff that they're doing there is very sensitive research information. So having access, having the parking, having people walk back and forth, and so on and so forth. So there are some issues that we're still working through with FAU, and that's where Commissioner Ryan is going to be integrally important to our team. Again, just to give you that perspective, that yellow piece is FDOT land, for which part of the FAU building sits on. So again, between FAU's issues and FDOT issues, those are the pieces that we need to sort of get some clarity on before we actually go out to the market and look for somebody to come in and execute on the plan. So what are our next steps? Obviously, we're working with FDOT in terms of addressing the transfer of that parcel. We are engaged to get an appraisal. We are underway preparing marketing materials, again, very similar to what you saw for City Center. And we are in the initial stages of preparing an RFQ. Again, just to reiterate, RFQ is a request for qualifications. It's going to be a two-step process. We're going to go out to find developers that can execute on the marina, on the parking, on the additional amenities, and then we will come back and work diligently with commission, with staff, with the community to refine the vision and make sure that it is in alignment with all of your, goals and objectives. So it's a two-step process, and we anticipate that we'll probably be in the market at the beginning of the year. That's just a quick update. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you, Ken. I just want to say hi again. It seems like we just traveled down this road a little while ago with the TRA, and I'm thankful that that relationship can turn over to this, and especially with our beach and the many possibilities that can happen there. And so there's a lot of potential. There's still a lot of questions that the public has about the Dania Beach Bar and Grill. And so I hope this is showing everyone that we have not forgotten about the Dania Beach Bar and Grill. It's going to be a lengthier process, so we can make sure we're doing things the right way and bringing something that we all can have a chance to, have input and be proud of, and that can be exactly what the community wants. Because I'm hoping, as we did the charrette and everything else with the other project, that we definitely have that same level of involvement from our community, so we can make sure this isn't just what we want in our vision, but the vision of the community. So thank you again.
Okay. No other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is the Dania Beach Chamber of Commerce update by Randy Shane.
Good evening, City Manager, Mayor, Commissioners. I want to first start by thanking you all for your support and partnership with the Chamber. We really appreciate all your support. I'm excited to announce that my new address is 100 West Dania Beach Boulevard. I will be in the conference room over on the side where code enforcement is, so thank you all for that as well. Couple exciting things happening with the Chamber and other chambers in our community. The Hollywood Chamber just had their largest event fundraiser of the year called Grapes for Grades, held in Dania Beach at our Gallery of Amazing Things last Friday night. So that was great for our city. We have Dickey's grand opening on the 19th. They're having their soft opening this week. Lime is on the 15th. Got a call that Tommy Bahamas is coming in to Dania Point, so excited about that. And thank you all for all your work, because Dania is really growing, and in my opinion, in a great direction.
Thank you, Randy. Anybody? No? Okay. Next item is special event request from the City of Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Agency for Dania After Dark events to be held on Southwest 1st Avenue between Dania Beach Boulevard and Southwest 1st Street on October 12, November 9, and December 14, 2019, and January 11, February 1, March 14, April 11, May 9, June 13, July 11th, August 8th, and September 12th, 2020, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. The applicant is also requesting road closures on Southwest 1st Avenue and BSO Police and Fire Services. Are there any issues?
None whatsoever.
Anybody? Good.
Make a motion to move the item.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next, we have two proclamations. The first one is for Domestic Violence Awareness Month from Women in Distress. Is there anybody here from Women in Distress? Sure, come on up. We received this request earlier this month. Let me just go ahead and read this. Did you have anything you wanted to say right now first, and then we'll go ahead and read the proclamation? Go right ahead. You have to go up there. Just state your name and address, and we will Proceed.
Good evening. My name is Jamalis from Women in Distress of Broward County. I'm a prevention specialist there. On behalf of Women in Distress, our board of directors, trustees, and most importantly, the domestic violence victims we serve, we'd like to thank you and the city of Dania Beach for your ongoing support of our programs. For 45 years, WID has worked to stop domestic abuse for everyone through intervention, education, and advocacy. Domestic violence is a social problem that impacts every segment of the population. It occurs in all communities, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, age, race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic standing. The services and resources provided by Women in Distress are designed to empower survivors affected by domestic violence with the necessary tools required to gain long-term independence and economic sufficiency. Whether residing in our shelter or receiving services through our outreach program, participants will work with advocates who connect them to a number of community resources that will help them as they search for employment, participate in job readiness programs, identify safe housing, and research affordable care options. Funding directly supports residents from the city of Dania Beach seeking domestic violence services, including emergency shelter, advocacy, counseling, and transitional assistance. Last year, with the funds provided by the city of Dania Beach, we were able to provide 358 nights of safe shelter to residents of Dania, 291 hours of outreach services such as counseling, group support, and 53 calls were received on our crisis hotline. Thank you again for your continued support.
Thank you. Whereas the residents of the city of Dania Beach are this city's most precious resource, and ensuring their safety, well-being, and positive development is a priority and a responsibility that we all share. And whereas 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been victims of physical violence by an intimate partner within their lifetime. And whereas the exposure of young children to such violence is occurring at an alarming rate, the U.S. Advisory Board on Child Abuse and Neglect suggests that domestic violence may be the single major precursor to child abuse and fatalities in this country. And whereas by providing individuals with education about healthy relationships and by changing attitudes that support violence, we work to stop domestic violence for the city of Dania Beach residents. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Dania Beach, and urge all to respond to and work toward ending domestic violence by supporting their community's efforts to empower and assist victims in finding and accessing the resources they need, and by promoting awareness and prevention of domestic violence in our community. Thank you. Do we have somebody that wants to take a picture? If you come up here, we'll just do a quick picture up here. Yep. Come right here in the middle.
You got the new iPhone.
I
You
know,
got money,
Katya.
huh? You got that money, huh? I wouldn't know.
Thank you.
She's buying us all one for Christmas.
All right, and the next one we have is for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which I requested. Ms. Grace, would you like to come up? If you could both introduce yourselves.
Bobby Grace, 110 Northwest 8th Avenue, Dania Beach. This is my right hand since I'm left-handed, Gail Jones.
Gail Jones, 717 Southwest 8th Street, Dania Beach, Florida.
Both cancer survivors.
Yes.
Breast cancer survivors.
And Ms. Grace, I know you have a request here for citizen comments about breast cancer.
May I do that first?
You may do that now.
Thank you so much. To the residents of the city of Dania Beach, my commission to everyone that has someone in their family that has been affected by this horrible disease called breast cancer. The city of Dania Beach has been very busy in the last couple of months putting together such an event that's going to be at the Dania Beach Casino. It's going to be on October the 13th, starting at 2:30 till 6. And so I'm encouraging everybody in the city of Dania Beach, surrounding communities, to please come and join us. We have the 954 room upstairs, seats 700 people. I know that the fire chief is here. You didn't hear it. We might have a little more than 5, 6, 7, maybe 800 people, but we're going to do it in unity, so we're not going to have everybody there at the same time, so just plug your ears to that surge, okay? We're asking everybody to wear pink for that event, to make sure that you make a donation to the Breast Cancer Relay for Life and also the American Cancer Society. I want to thank Craig Valentine, and I want to thank Chicky Brandemarty, our commissioner, for stepping up to the plate and really helping with this event. You know, the last 9 years, I did it in the atrium here, and it's gotten bigger and it's gotten better. And I think that as long as we can help someone fight this horrible disease and live another day to celebrate a birthday, it's just absolutely fantastic. I don't want to leave out my commission, and I don't want to leave out my city manager, because when I asked for certain things, there was no hesitation. If you look in the atrium out there and you see the big, beautiful ribbon out there, it was implemented by her and her staff here at the City of Dania Beach with the blessings of our commission, and I truly appreciate that. So we're going to be moving some of this stuff over to the casino. We're also going to have a luncheon for our seniors that's going to be at the same time, and that is going to be something that we're going to be very happy with. I want to say this before I stop, because I think it's important. In the city of Dania Beach, we've raised $400,000 for the Relay for Life, and it would not have been possible without Lisa Duke and Connie Bell, and also Myrtle Corbin, who really started it up. And I don't want to leave those women out, simply because 2 of them are not here to speak for themselves because they were hit with this breast cancer and they've gone on to heaven. But I appreciate what they've done because it helps somebody else. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Stay up here. Stay up here. And after we read the proclamation, we're going to take a picture as well, so don't go anywhere, okay? All right. Whereas October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is an annual campaign to increase awareness of the disease and the importance of screening and early detection. And whereas 1 in 8 women born in the U.S. today will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. And whereas breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer death among women aged 40 to 50 years in the United States. And whereas a case of breast cancer is diagnosed among women every 2 minutes, and a woman dies of breast cancer every 13 minutes in the U.S. And whereas recent studies suggest that many women in the U.S. are not following recommended guidelines for mammography screening by having their first screening later than recommended, not having one at recommended intervals, or not receiving appropriate and timely follow-up of positive screening results. And whereas breast cancer affects everyone, not just the person diagnosed, co-survivors, including family, friends, and coworkers, can also feel the effects. And whereas in the U.S. in 2019, there will be an estimated 271,270 new cases of invasive breast cancer diagnosed in women and 2,670 cases diagnosed in men, and tens of thousands will die from it. And whereas there are more than 3.5 million breast cancer survivors alive in the U.S. today, the largest group of cancer survivors in the country. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2019 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Dania Beach and acknowledge that the City Commission recognizes the importance of education and awareness in combating this disease. Thank you. What I'd like to do is, we also had our city staff dress in pink tonight as well. So what I'd like to do is see if we could get everybody from the city staff that is in pink to come up front, and we'll all take a picture together with the commission.
And if there are any more breast cancer survivors in the audience, will you please come up, please?
Yeah. Yes, and all cancer survivors that we have in the audience. You want us all to go, or do you want us to stand up here? I'll go down. I don't mind.
You guys coming down?
Raquel.
Can we have the city clerk down here, please?
Yeah, Kevin, be right there.
I think there's too many people, be too wide.
Yeah, we're good. Let's do it. Yeah. She has the white.
Yeah, I was going to say no. Our ego's not that fragile.
Oh, she's got a
white
on that thing.
You know, I'm just
Production.
all right, everyone ready? Smile. And voila.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Awesome.
Let's go back up.
Oh, yeah. You're so smart.
Smart and strong.
Man, you're strong. It took two people to push it to the back.
I don't need a man.
Apparently, we are also selling bracelets for breast cancer for donations, $5 a piece at the HR office. So if you contact our HR department and you want to buy one, the donation will go to Breast Cancer Awareness, right? Or American Cancer Society? To the Gangrels event, right, which is on the 13th that Ms. Grace was talking about. Okay. Oh, is that yours? He's handing me stuff. Okay, our next item is citizen comments. I will tell you all that we have a lot of citizen comments tonight. No, it's all different subjects. So I'm going to hold everybody to their 3 minutes tonight, and I will cut you off. So please, please be mindful of the amount of time that you're up here. When you do come up, please state your name and address, and we will limit you to your 3 minutes. First person, Jeffrey Leon Roberson.
Good evening. Good evening, Commission and fellow citizens. My name is Jeffrey Leon Roberson. I reside at 106 Southwest 5th Court, Dania Beach. I am born and raised in Dania Beach. So the question, My comment concerns, I guess my most pressing comment concerns Saratoga Crossing. And I have some concerns about the property management and this entire process for prospective applicants or tenants. There are a number of issues which I highlighted on the application form, which gives me concern, and I'll put the word out and I'll speak it myself. I'm concerned about potential gentrification of the west side of Dania Beach, from Old Griffin Road to the railroad tracks, and I'm talking west, east or south of Old Griffin Road to Bryan Road and that entire area. I would like to have a point of contact who I can discuss this with, because I know 3 minutes is not an adequate amount of time. But I have some very serious concerns about this process. One of them being is the application process, in my opinion, was flawed. Applications were given to prospective tenants on a Saturday, and some of the requirements in here will require people to gather information which is not available on the weekends. So if you're dealing with low-income people and they have to work in order to survive, what are they supposed to do? Take a day off from work just to get this information because of this compressed, overly compressed application period? So I'll step away from the podium and I'll let other citizens voice their opinion in their comments.
Thank you, Mr. Roberson. City Manager, do we have somebody that we can provide him with a point of contact? Okay. So Mr. LaFerre, I'll give you his card and you can speak with him, okay?
Thank you.
Colin May Jones.
I'm Colin May Jones, 22 Northwest 14th Ave, Dania Beach, Florida. I don't want 7 lanes put. I heard through the grapevine that there's going to, that Dania, right there by Dania Beach on Bryan Road, they want to put in 7 lanes. I heard that through the grapevine. I hope that's false, that they're not going to want to put any more lanes than what's already existing. And that little strip that goes from between the river, or the, whatever that's called, canal, and Dania Beach, that little strip of land, they're trying to rezone that. If people can do whatever they want to do with their property, I'm okay, they can zone it any way they are, but no entertainment, because that's where where their noise is going to come over on my land, on my piece. So no, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it should be done, because to give them rezoning is stealing from me. Flat out. That's all.
Thank you. Dr. Scott? Gary Emerson Scott?
Real simple.
Official.
To the commission, the mayor. My concern is
Name and
just,
address, please.
I'm sorry, Pastor Scott, St. Ruth Missionary Baptist Church, 145 Northwest 5th Avenue. I'm just simply here tonight to introduce myself to you as a new pastor in the city, and to let you know that my intention is to serve in any and every way that I can. That's it.
Welcome, Pastor. Bobby Grace.
Bobby Grace, 110 Northwest 8th Avenue in the great city of Dania Beach, Florida. Pastor is coming from Houston, Texas, so I have no problem with him whatsoever. Just want you to know. Perhaps you can help me with my little problem of drinking a whole bottle of wine last night, but it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. I'm here to talk about the 115th birthday celebration. I did reach out to the county commissioners, and as we did for the 110th birthday celebration, there were some things that they could do to help us celebrate. I talked to 3 of them, and I gave them as the contact would be the mayor, so that they can sit down and talk to her and see what they will be able to come up with. They have money, and they think that they will be able to help us with it. And I think that we will have a great celebration so that we can include every resident of the city of Dania Beach by having something fantastic right here at City Hall, that every person that is a resident in the city of Dania Beach will be able to come to, along with whatever else you're planning. So Tim Ryan was my contact, Dale Holiness and Ben. So we're going to work on it. We're going to work on it together because, after all, we are all residents of Dania Beach, and we want to make this a great event for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Fred Beneby.
I'm going to dispense with
We need your name and address, please.
Okay. 955 Village Trail, Port Orange, Florida.
Thank you.
I'm going to dispense with all the formalities because I need all the time I can get. I'm here in behalf of a young man, well, a little baby boy, about 6 years old. About 90 years ago, would you believe that? While hiding in the grass, saw something that was very terrible. The bodies being exhumed from the East Lawn Cemetery and put into a common grave of black citizens because some person decided that they didn't want any black people buried in the same graveyard. But when we came to the city, when you had Mayor Bertino as well as Vice Mayor Byrd, I may be a little choked up because every time I talk about it, it upsets me. But this young boy saw something that traumatized him for the rest of his life. He's dead now. And what we decided to do was come to you all, the city, and I believe in the same spot. And good people like Mayor Bertino and, of course, Vice Mayor Byrd, and I remember Mac, and I think we had some nice people who said, we're going to take care of this so that Dania doesn't have a black eye for the rest of his life. Now let me just clue you into this, the reason why I'm making this request for Marvin Merritt. You've done a wonderful job, all of you. I want to congratulate you. I know that Katia did a wonderful job of interviewing us, got over 6,000 hits regarding that situation. Carl did a wonderful job. If you've not been down to the graveyard to see it, you should go. I just happened to be out there one day just to see how my mother was doing. She's buried right there near that spot. But what Marvin saw as a 6 or 7 year old kid crawling in the grass while on the south side of the graveyard terrified him, traumatized him. He said he saw these men, black men, wheeling bodies, decomposed, smelling. The whole site in Liberia was smell of decomposed bodies for more than, seemed like a week. I was about 5 years old. Marvin was 7, and Bill Hall was 7. We decided that we were going to come to the good people of Dania because we know that you would do the right thing. So what they did was, Mayor Bertino, as well as Vice Mayor Byrd, decided that we will not only do the right thing, but we're going to put a monument there to those persons who at least we can find their names. But when we decided to ask the black citizens of Dania about telling us who was buried there, they were deathly afraid. They said if we so much as mention this, the Klan might get us. Could you imagine 3 decades ago, people still have fear of the Klan? But those guys who did that dastardly, terrible thing, we will never forget. It just reminds me of the Holocaust, for which I said to my friend, seeing this is just unbelievable. Could you imagine digging a common grave and throwing people in a hole, smelling up the whole community. But you all were smart enough, at least that commission was smart enough to say, Fred, we're going to take care of this, and they did. Putting the monument up with the names that they could recognize was great. But now what I'm saying to you, for Marvin, he's dead, by the way, do something to honor him. If it wasn't for Marvin, there would be no West Lawn Cemetery. Hear me. If it wasn't for Marvin, there would be no West Lawn Cemetery. You should see that place now. It's the pride of all of our community. But I'm very proud of the fact is that you stepped up, you all did. You did some wonderful things. I'm so very proud of you. Marvin can't speak for you, but I can. He went to his grave saying that we can't let this happen again. And it's because of Dania, you've done more than enough. We appreciate you. Please allow me to compose myself.
I understand. Mr. Meneby, I just so that you know, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but we do have a public hearing on this later.
Yes, ma'am, I realize that.
And I want you to come and speak then as well.
Listen, I realize that, but I drove 240 miles to get here to plead with you all to let you know that that little strip of land, road that's going through the graveyard, should be named for him, the Marvin Merritt Way, so that his children and all of their children will know the truth. We should never let this happen again, and I applaud you for it, but I'm also sad. The fact is that
We got it. It's okay. It's done.
okay. Thank
It's
you.
okay.
Thank you. Robert,
You guys should go down and take a look at that graveyard.
Robert Mikes.
I thought I was signing up for another item, but I will comment on that. I was on the commission.
I need
when
you to state your name and address, please, as you know.
Robert Mike, 601 Northwest 7th Street.
Thank
I mean,
you.
Bobby and I were both on the commission. We were dealing with that 20 years ago. Anyway, but you know, you got to understand how old this city is. And there are like no records of people in the White Cemetery either. So it's not just one issue. But we tried in Bertino and Chester Bird as good friends. And, you know, you'll find, and I'm going to talk about a building later in this meeting, we don't even know which buildings have steel rebar in them and down here. And when we were trying to go to some buildings, well, does that one have rebar in the concrete? We didn't even know, and we have no records. No records of the buildings where they put steel rebar in the You saw what happened on that building on US 1. And the records in this city were terrible. And I'd go down and try to get some water lines fixed. And I said, well, what kind of valve is there? Well, we don't know. Joe so-and-so knew what was in there. I said, well, what happened to him? He said, he died. So they were depending on personnel, people, to remember all this stuff. And I'm amazed that we don't have more buildings falling down. I'll be honest with you.
Derek Hankerson? No? Okay. I know, he's passing. Michael Sarton?
Mike Sarton, 746 Southwest 3rd Street in
A little
Dania
closer, please.
Beach.
A little closer, please.
Mike Sarton, 746 Southwest 3rd Street in Dania Beach. Good evening, all. The last time I spoke here, I had to use visual aids. I looked like something out of the previous century. Literally, in the previous century, I was a physician assistant, and every patient encounter is a presentation at some level. And at least you've got exam paper and a 4-color pen. I would like to know, well, in this century, I was a classroom teacher here in Broward County. We had a couple $1,000 worth of interactive software available for each 90-minute class. And the citizens are left up here with nothing but a slightly more effective microphone than we used to have. Why can't the citizens have access to a Wacom tablet or those 2 LCD screens up there so that you can get a presentation in and make some sense rather than relying on the spoken word? If money is free speech in the world in which we live, then surely access to presentation technology is free speech as well. Good evening.
Thank you. Jimmy Peterman?
Jimmy Peterman, 717 Southwest 4th Terrace, Dania Beach, Florida. Lifelong resident of Dania. I look around, don't see anyone been in Dania as long as I have been. I'm speaking on a name in the street in the graveyard. I don't think we should use taxpayers' money to put up signs in the graveyard. And my daddy told me I always ask a question that you ask that you don't know the answer. City attorney, can you block off a street, a public street?
A public street is for the public. These streets are dedicated to the public. But in this cemetery, there's been a lot of vandalism and there's been a lot of water theft. So these streets have to be protected during the nighttime hours.
Is that a street? Will that be a street?
Those are public streets, including the street you're talking about, yes.
Okay, if I have a lot of trouble on my street, can I have my street blocked off? Sir?
No.
What's the difference?
The difference is this is a cemetery, and it's not designed for public use 24 hours a day.
But we're naming it a street.
That does not do anything other than name the street.
Okay.
I can't really debate with you.
Thank you for your answer. But I don't see, and I look around in the audience, and I don't see anyone from the family asking this street to be named in the honor of Starving Marvin. Some people call him Marvin Merritt. I call him Starving Marvin because this is one name he went under. And I know Mr. Merritt, Mr. Bentley, few years older than I am. Few, not that many. I am from Dania. He's from Hollywood. And this story I'm hearing about this young man finding all these graves, this is the first time I heard of it. And I know everybody in Dania haven't been afraid of the Klan, as he said, because in the 40s, my father was working in Davie. And I was just against naming a street in the graveyard. They had a chance. If they really want to name a street, want to do something for Mr. Merritt, Hollywood was naming streets. They named 3 streets in Hollywood. Why we didn't go down there and, hey, let's name the street in Hollywood where Mr. Merritt lived. Don't come in here in Dania I have nothing against Mr. Mayor. I have nothing against the monument. But I just don't feel like we need to be naming a street honoring this man, and I don't see nobody from his family up here. Thank you.
Thank you. Elaine Barati.
Elaine Barati, 180 East Dania Beach Boulevard, the place at Dania Beach. I'm rather new at the building, and we had an incident a week ago, Friday, I guess. I was across the street, actually, at Dania Beach Highlight, but there was like 14 fire trucks, and it took hours standing out there trying to figure out what was going on. Channel 10 did put me on the news. I said, I don't know. But anyways, we had a meeting later, and then we were told we were not allowed back in the building. There was some kind of a flood. I stayed at Morrison's. They said we got a good rate because something with the mayor, $85. So we paid it the first night, and then plus tax, I don't know, it was 90-something. And then we had to stay another night because we're still evicted from the place, and it was 90-something, over $100 with the tax. And she says, oh, don't worry about it, they're going to pay for it. Well, guess what? They didn't pay for it. Plus, we stayed another night at the Morrison's. And then I went home, and I had fans and big machines in my place. I almost put the place on fire because I couldn't even think. I'm running the dishwasher because in the refrigerator freezer, all the food's no good, and the electricity on, off, on, I don't know, everything thrown away, put the dishwasher on, put a fan on, couldn't even think. And the stove went over, and my husband happened to unplug the fan for a minute, and I said, oh my gosh, I left all this stuff on, all these fans. Anyways, we got out of the building, I went up to Atlantic City, I come back, and now I hear all this scare about mold, and I'm concerned. I don't know if I should stay there or not, and about breaking the lease. We were told we were going to get reimbursed, but now we're told we're not. We're not told anything, and I need a point person to talk to about this, what to do. Is it safe to live there? Is it safe for pets to live there? Who's going to pay for all this extra damage? I don't know. We just need someone to talk to, a point person.
Our city manager can answer that for you.
I'll be more than happy to speak with you. I met with a regional manager of that building, Elizabeth Vaccaro. We went to see her last week, and I've also met with the management. And our goal is to work with them to make sure that all our residents are compensated for the out-of-pocket monies that they had to spend.
When will we be compensated?
That I don't know, ma'am, but it's not going to be because of lack of effort on our part in regards to our pressing and being your voice. We've done what we could do to make sure that you guys were able to get back into the building.
Yeah, but it was too soon. The whole hall was full of fans. There was saturated with water. I go in your apartment, it's with a fan. You can't even hear. I couldn't even talk to my husband, he's near me, because of all this noise. I mean, I had to get out. I stayed there one night and I said, honey, book me. We went to Atlantic City. So I stayed at Atlantic City from Tuesday to Friday, and I just come back, but I hear all this noise about everybody, and people are moving out left and right. Am I supposed to be moving out? I don't know. Am I supposed to break my lease? Am I going to be subject to the extra 2 months lease? I don't know what's going on. I'm just scared. I actually love the place, and I actually moved my son there just a few months ago. So I have 2 places there that I'm concerned, but I'm worrying about our health. That's more important than the money. And there's no truth, and there's no follow-up. We don't know what's going on. I mean, is there going to be mold? Why they left this whole hallway full of fans? That carpet needs to be taken up. The chute on 7th floor and 6th floor, they say there's mold already there. Why hasn't this stuff been addressed? The garage, you can see water leaking before it even happened, but water is constantly leaking. Where's the engineer for this building? I don't understand. There's so many hidden things.
If I may, I think what's important is to get the facts.
Yes.
During moments like this, people take advantage of a situation, and there are tactics that are used to scare folks. I want to make sure that the communication that we have with you all are based on clarity and based on facts. So based on the information that I've been able to receive, or this contact that I have, I'm going to give you my card so you can reach out to me, and I'm going to disseminate this information to all our residents. So they have a point person, not just here in the city, but also there representing you in the building as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
It's my pleasure.
Rebecca Salbert. Please state your name and address.
Rebecca Salbert, 180 East Dania Beach Boulevard, the place at Dania Beach, which our city manager addressed some of my concerns, but was unavailable for numerous phone calls, return phone calls from quite a number of residents who were trying to reach out to her. She addressed most of our problems, the safety issues, should we be in this building? So I'll leave that stand. But I would like to thank all the firefighters and the police. It went as smoothly as it could go for evacuating 250 people and keeping us organized. And I know you were there, and of course Tamara, because she lives there, kind of had no choice to be there. But we're looking forward to living in a safe place and feeling safe, and if we need to leave, we need to know that sooner than later. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you. Tyler Hines.
Hi there, good evening. Tyler Hines, 180 East Dania Beach. As you can imagine, the place at Dania Beach. You guys have heard just from a few other of my tenants. As you can imagine, there are several hundred more. They would have came down with us tonight, but we probably wouldn't have had enough room for everyone. I come to you tonight, I just moved down here 2 weeks ago. And I just moved in, and as I'm running on a treadmill on the second floor, I see thousands of gallons of water just draining from the ceilings and light fixtures. And I can tell you, I'm 32 years old. I've never seen water come out of a light fixture before. I don't know if you have. I haven't. As my other tenants have mentioned, and I mean, I'm not going to, beat a dead horse. I mean, we're all concerned for our safety here. I got off the elevator today and saw buckets of water and electrical running next to it. Now, mind you, I'm not an electrician by trade. I work in the corporate world. If you put water and electricity next to each other, somebody's going to get killed. So I have videos and pictures of that that I would like to use as evidence and give to the city. The other thing that I have is normally when you run an elevator, you're supposed to have it managed and well documented, and people are supposed to come in and maintain it. Yeah, our certificate's been overdue for 3 months now. So if an elevator cable snaps and free falls 8 floors, somebody's probably going to die, right? So there's another lawsuit. Now, I'm going to, just yield back the rest of my time because, I mean, like I say, they've hit the main points. But, if you're going to pay $2,000 a month to live in an apartment complex, you need to be safe. You need to be taken care of. And, I guess just overall, I am just very disappointed in the lack of, I guess just empathy too. I mean, they acted like they really didn't even care. They told us that we had to pay our rent still on the 1st. Okay, I'm not paying my rent. Sue me. Do it. So I guess just overall, I am very, very disappointed by the lack of competence exhibited by most of the staff, the gross negligence, and just downright awful customer service. And I'll just end on it. Like I said, I work in corporate, so I understand that they're just going to keep beating this down the road until either A, we forget about it, or B, we just leave them alone. I mean, that's what they do. So, and I know you said you were working with it. I would just like to know what the city is going to do. And I just think that's everyone's right in that building as a taxpayer to understand what is the city going to do.
If I may. I will tell you, sir, so you know, the type of manager that you have. Since I've gotten here, we've had to close pools. We've had to close buildings, including our own buildings. Excuse me.
I think you should shut this building down. I don't think we should be in there.
That's part of the problem, so, but
If
it's not a city property.
If it's not a safe property and our building official deems it's not a safe property, rest assured that we will close it. Like we have closed going on 2, 3, and including our own pools until we corrected the issues. On my watch, we're not going to have any building that is not safe for our residents. Rest assured on that.
I was going to say, I think you missed one. It's right down here, but.
No, well, I get, it's going to be looked at, so.
Yeah, it's just, I just moved here. It's not a good
Yeah.
look.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Commissioner Brandon
Mayor, I think we should, what's wrong with this thing? Mayor, I think that we should make this a priority for these people.
I think it is a
I mean,
priority already.
Well, I know, but I think it should be, something got to be done faster, because even I don't understand how it was deemed safe to go back in with water still by electrical wires and mold. Mold comes fast. We took our own police department out of their building, out of their room here because of mold in that room. And they're out of there, yet these people are supposed to sleep in it? Nah, that doesn't work. And where the hell are the owners anyway? And while you're at it, where's the manager?
Okay. I need you
Well,
to
if they
not
have
call
insurance
out,
money, they
please.
should have paid for your rooms.
Okay. All right. I know you're taking this as, making this a priority, so I would like to see a report back to us. If not sooner than the next commission meeting, we need to have some sort of report back within the
I've already
week.
made that request.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. None of us still know what happened. The residents that live there, us as commissioners, we don't have a report that tells us what happened. And I mean, I'll go on record to say I've seen those conditions firsthand, obviously, and they are. There's a lot of hazards that concerns myself. And a lot of the residents that are getting up here speaking. So I know I voiced my concerns to you all before when I said I didn't feel like it was safe. But what do I know? I'm not an engineer, not an inspector, I'm not a building official. But what I do know is where me and my son lay our heads, it doesn't feel safe, and it doesn't give you assurance that, I mean, the fire alarm went off the other day and we don't even know why. And it went off and everyone was evacuated and the fire trucks were there and we still don't know why. And so there are a lot of concerns that definitely need to be addressed yesterday. When you have that amount of individuals still occupying that space with those machines in there. If my place had those machines, and there's no way I would be living there. Some people have those big machines in their restrooms. They can't take showers. They have kids and animals there with, 4 or 5 fans and remediation machines. They're safety hazards all over the place. And I just want to make sure that we are saying the right things as a unified body up here when we are saying that that facility is safe.
George Palacios? Please state your name and address.
Good evening. First of all, thanks so much. Local resident of 218 Northwest First Avenue, Dania. And I've been in South Florida for 45 years. Very thankful for what the city has been doing for the past 15 years. I finally believe it's gone to a point where it is what it's supposed to be. Other than that, we always have issues. On the area where I live right now, in front of 218 Northwest First Avenue, we built a Holiday Inn Express about 4 years ago. Beautiful concept, great promotion. We're about to have a new building coming in, which is the Old Dania Plaza, going to be leveled. Through the construction of this, as a local realtor, which Key Brokers Inc. is located on 222 North Federal Highway, in front of the Big Orange, as we call it, I have a concern. The new building that's coming up, when they build a new Holiday Inn Express, it was a disaster zone. It was always constantly on the dirt, mud, sand, dirt. So there I have now my local studio, which I am creating into most likely, hopefully, in the future, into some kind of gallery cafe. I'm concerned about how the construction is going to take place if this is going to take over the full construction of trucks and vehicles right in front of that whole avenue, which is the only relief that we have from Federal Highway coming into the future new downtown Dania. So my concern is like, how can we control this and have some public parking? We have a green zone in there, which is owned by somebody and the railroad, which actually could be designated as a green zone. Very nice for the city of Dania to allow you to walk in, drive into the new downtown with a beautiful concept. Should I do that? Let's see what happens. Could it happen? I really suggest it. The Holocaust Museum that's right there is already taken 80% of the empty lot there every time they have an event. So I think it's more than shown that it should be a green zone. The future of the city of Dania, which I've been promoting for the past 20 years, has been just the growth and believing of how that northwest area of Federal Highway, all the way to Sheridan Street, really has a big future. And you did a beautiful project when you put those $4 million on Sterling Road South. I think it's time to start thinking of what we're doing on the other side of Sterling Road, because that is still going to be the first option from Old Griffin Road, right off the airport. But more than anything, I want to thank the city and my old friend Marco and people and everybody that I've seen here for many years for what they've been doing for the city. And I really appreciate the future of what can happen with that and the new corner of Dania Beach and Federal Highway, the old Pirates Lounge, and the land next to it. It's way long that we have to do something to develop that. We are starting to look almost like Tamiami Trail. Nothing's going to happen. It needs a lot of developing there. Push it a little bit more, but I want to thank you very much for everything all of you have done for us, because the city of Dania has been my goal in the last 15 years, and I'll keep on fighting for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget the hat.
Robert Mikes. Still here? No?
That was for the Downs building.
Okay.
I just gave it to the clerk. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Gail Tyson.
Hello, my name is Gail Tyson, Frank Salvino's granddaughter.
Address, please.
919 Nautilus Isle, Dania Beach, Florida. Been in Dania all my life, so has my grandparents. First of all, I'd like to say how appalled I am that all these new places are going up and falling apart, and yet my grandfather's Dania Beach Grill that was built in '29 is still closed, and I'm very upset about that. It should have been deemed a historical building, which it never was, and how did we lose our 99-year lease? And my life has been threatened since I've been digging this up. That's why I'm up here, in case something happens to me. You all know who's crooked and who's behind this crap in Dania, because that's wrong. And yes, I'm a part of the Salvino, and yes, I know all about the mob. I grew up with it all, and I know about it. So I'm here to let you know that if something happens to me, it's somebody in Dania's fault who doesn't want the grill replaced. Thank you.
Public safety reports.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor, Commissioners. In August, we had our first teens fishing excursion. We were able to put this event on because of the people and business partners we have here in Dania Beach. The event allowed approximately 25 Dania Beach teens to experience a day of fishing and interacting with law enforcement and fire personnel. The kind donations made the event a great success, and we are very thankful for that. I'd like to present all the donors with plaques right now. Miss Brown from Dusky Marine could not attend this evening, but I'll deliver the plaque to her. First, we'll have Rick from Anglers Bait and Tackle. They donated enough bait for as many kids as we could have. Oscar from PDQ, please come up. Oscar brought over more food than anyone could eat. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate you. Is Dixie from Bass Pro here? Oh, perfect. There you are. Thanks for always being there for us. This is for you and the team over there. Thank you very much. And we can't forget the city of Dania Beach, who supplied the lifeguards, the transportation of the youth. So Eric,
We want to get everyone together for a picture?
Yeah, we want to bring everybody up. All of the award winners, please come back up.
If you don't mind coming in front of the podium. The three of you, go. Ready? Yes, please, in front of the podium. Can we back up the podium one more time? It makes it easier. Girl, there we go. No, this way is a lot better. I've got it, guys. All right. This way you can back up just a little bit so I have everyone in the picture. And I have everyone on the wall. Ready? Smile. Perfect.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
oh, it's over here.
Smooth.
I'll get it. It's so hard.
No, don't.
Real quick, I'd just like to bring up two events that we're having. The first one, Commissioner Harris got the ball rolling on it for us. It's October 26th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's a partnership with the DEA. We're doing a prescription drug take-back, kind of like our Operation Medicine Cabinet. That's going to be at the Walmart parking lot, Southeast 5th Ave in Sheridan, October 26th, 9 a to 12 p. And then don't forget our National Night Out and Fall Festival with the Trunk or Treat at C.W. Thomas Park. That's Thursday, October 31st from 5 to 9 p.m. Thank
I
you.
have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to include fire with that as well for the National Night Out?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think you all should be there. Be nice combination of all kinds of.
Yeah, we'll have trucks there.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll
The
have all our
kids- the kids love
BSO
it,
toys,
so.
SWAT,
And the adults.
the boats.
Okay, great.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Go ahead.
I think you're here before me?
Actually, Commissioner Harris was on first.
Danny, I was with the sheriff the other day, and he talked about the PWT program.
Yes,
You
the
wanna tell us a little
Park
bit
Walk
about
Talk.
that? Park
What our
Walk and
deputies,
Talk?
Park Walk Talk. Our deputies are going every time they get out of the car. It's a practice that we've always done, but now we're getting out, we're talking, walking down a block, and on the radio, so dispatch knows that we have a deputy that's out of their vehicle and walking around and just meeting with different businesses and different people. And now we can kind of keep track of it a little better.
Do you want to help me set up a coffee with a cop program somewhere at one of the new restaurants?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Commissioner James?
Yes, with that prescription take back, does that include syringes? Someone on Facebook asked that question, and I don't know the answer to it.
I don't either. I know that fire rescue can dispose of them. No? Okay.
No, okay, just pills.
Special containers for that.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager.
Can't hear you.
Sergio Pelser, District Chief. Evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, staff. My report will be pretty quick. Basically, I want to talk about, unfortunately, the world we live in, we have to be prepared for catastrophe. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be putting what's called Stop the Bleed kits in our schools here in Dania Beach. So it's a kit that basically has 8 different packages inside of it, and they'll be distributed to the school. This was gotten through a grant with the state of Florida and Broward County School Board. So we'll be distributing it out over the next 3 weeks. Also, I was able to, through the good partnership with BSO, get one, and we'll put it here at City Hall. I'll just get with the city manager and see where we want to put it, and we'll get that done. Do you have any questions for me?
Vice Chair or
And I may have
Vice
asked,
Mayor?
I may have asked you when you told us about this last time. Do we have somebody doing training for the kits as well?
Yes, we've already, the training's already been done.
Oh, they already did the training.
Yeah, we did the
Now they're
training
just gonna
last
do
year,
kits.
and if they need a refresher, they'll call us and we'll do it.
Awesome, thank
So
you.
it's done.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is consent agenda. Do we have any polls?
7.7.
Any others?
Move the consent agenda with the exception of 7.7.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
7.7, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the reclassification of 3 employee positions within the Public Services Department, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Yes, I guess I was reading over these, and I'm surprised that these reclassifications have come after budget, because I want to really discuss them. It seems like, especially one of them seems to be a demotion, even though it says no budgetary impacts, and I understand that, but the classification is pretty much a demotion, and I thought this would have been better to talk about it when we all had the chance to workshop it like we did the rest of the budget and the rest of the positions in an open forum.
So when we're preparing the budget and turning in the budget to you, and I mean, it really seems like we did it several months ago, as a new public services director is working with his team, what has come out of the observations is we have promoted several outstanding individuals. As you know, Darren and Corey and also Callie. So we would like to see is how those 3 individuals develop and evolve. Rather than promoting one, we'd like to see, how they emerge and how they're able to grow in those new positions. We're not going to be reducing anybody's pay, but we just would like to see I don't want to say the word competition, I just want to be able to allow the new team to see the progress and put it out there as motivation. So basically, there is no demotion. It's just putting the right people in the right positions and putting that out there in the future for whoever emerges as the next leader.
So the superintendent to a manager isn't a demotion?
No, because we had already promoted that individual. So all those 3 individuals have been promoted. So
No, but I guess that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if you have a superintendent and you're changing them from a superintendent to a manager, it doesn't seem like those 2 are equal. When I go to a facility and I see the superintendent, I'm going to see the superintendent. When I go to see the manager, I'm going to ask them, can I see the superintendent?
So I totally understand. So what we have done, instead of putting 4 divisions under a superintendent, we are putting 2 divisions under each manager. So rather than have someone with 4 divisions and someone with 2, what we've done is we've taken a manager with 2 divisions, a manager with 2 divisions, and another manager with 2 divisions. So what we want to do is grow them and put them in a position for success and not failure. And as these 3 managers rise within their respective divisions, then we will come forward to you with that superintendent position between one of these 3 individuals.
So you're taking the superintendent position away, demote them to a manager, and then whoever wins out of the 3 managers, you're putting them back as superintendent?
No. No, what we're doing is we're putting the superintendent position on the shelf. These 3 individuals have all 3 been promoted during this administration. So we have 3 individuals that have all 3 been promoted. They're all 3 going to be managers. They were not managers last year. They were not managers 6 months ago.
Correct. So you're
we-
taking the manager, you made them a superintendent, and you're taking them back down the manager.
We never anointed that position to anybody. We had it in the budget, but we haven't promoted anybody. We're promoting 3 managers, and we like to leave that position in the future at the proper time. This is not the
So
proper
currently,
time.
there's no superintendent, is what you're telling me?
That is correct.
But, so what is the reclassification? Because it says from superintendent to manager.
Because we had put it in the budget 2-3 months ago when we prepared the budget. Now, after better assessment, and assessment is ongoing, now after better assessment, what we would like to do is have 3 promotions to manager and leave that promotion of superintendent for the right time.
Okay, so just,
Thank you.
I just want to be very clear one more time, because, so there is no current superintendent, there was just one that was approved in the budget that you want to not have anymore?
Not at this moment. You're correct, not at this moment. But we want to have 3 promotions of 3 individuals, and that's the plan. Be able to leave that superintendent position in the future when it's earned. But we wanted to make sure that rather than having 1 person with 4 divisions, we wanted to have 3 people, 6 divisions, 2 divisions under each one of these managers. We want to make sure that we set them up for success.
Okay, I would just like to ask that these things be done at the budget time, because it's, these things are confusing when you see it like this, and we had a very long budget process, and, I think that it would have been most appropriate then at the budget or mid-year. But thank you.
Certainly, thank you.
So do we have a motion on number 7? 7.7?
I'll make a motion to approve. Item number 7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Next is bids and requests for proposals.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the proper city officials to award invitation to bid ITB number 19-010 for building code services to CAP Government, Inc., providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Mark LaFerrier, Community Development. This agenda item involves a request for the Commission to award a bid for supplemental building code services. At the June 11th City Commission meeting, the City Commission asked us to go out for an RFP for supplemental building code services. We prepared that bid document and released it on July the 18th. There's a pre-bid mandatory meeting on August the 1st. 2 responders attended that meeting. It was CAP Government, Inc. and Calvin Giordano and Associates. And then the bids were received on August the 16th. On August the 29th, the bid committee met and reviewed the bids, and we reviewed them to determine who was the most responsive and responsible bidder. The average score of the 3 bid committee members for CAP was 95 points, and it was 78 points for CGA. Your agenda packet includes all of the bid documents and the scoring tables with it. What we're asking is that the commission approve the bid and allow the administration to go ahead and negotiate a contract with CAP Government, Inc. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Any questions? Commissioner Harris?
Can I make a motion to approve the bid results and the tabulation and the resolution for to enter into a contract with the manager?
Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is public hearings.
9-1 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, providing that a portion of an access road located in the city's West Lawn Cemetery be named Marvin Merritt Way, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
There's no presentation? Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Mr. Beneby, did you want to continue to speak? Yes, I'm on the vote now. Okay. If you'd like to come up, I'd like for you to be able to continue. No, no need, no need. Wait till you get up here so we can hear you and get you on the record, okay?
Okay.
And please just state your name and address
Okay,
again for
Fred
us.
Branby, 955 Village Trail, Port Orange. I live in a home with my wife who has Alzheimer's. A lot of things that just upset me, but I think I'm more composed. First of all, I've never thought of Dania and Hollywood Library being a separate entity. In our community, we were all one. And one of the things I take great pride in is the fact is that many people are buried in West Lawn right now, and they're from everywhere. But to denigrate and to say something about Marvin is not fair, because had he not come to us and asked us to speak in behalf of that, there would be no West Lawn Cemetery. I wore this jersey tonight as a replica of a baseball team, one of the best baseball teams in the world, the Dania Redbirds. If any of you watched football last night at the Negro Museum, for baseball players, they highlighted a jersey from the Dania Redbirds. Dania Redbirds in 1965, made up of players from Ogis, Puerto Rico, Davie, West Hollywood, Liberia, and other places. We're all one family. Just because I was not born, Marvin wasn't born in Dania, has nothing to do with anything more than the fact is that there are many of us who are part of this community. And I was just speaking to Ms. Salvino back there. I used to work for her father picking tomatoes and doing some things. So we've always been together. The J. Ely Boulevard, a professor from Pompano Beach, my first basketball coach from Bartow, Florida. So what I'm saying to you is, and I'll try not to be too long this time, is that we're all one family. I've always been. And to not honor this great American, Marvin, never mind about his past deeds, what happened to him. God has a way of putting people in the right place at the right time. And the reason why we found out about those graves is because Marvin not only saw it from the bushes, but I happened to be over there and saw all these broken up stones. And I said, what the hell is all this stuff over here by my mother's grave? He said, well, the prisoners forgot to throw the stones in with the bodies. So that's how that happened. So coming to you all, and I must applaud you. I have always had faith in Dania. When the news media called us and wanted to sensationalize this whole thing, the Gannett newspapers from USA, as well as other newspapers, the Dania Press did the best job of covering this, little Dania, and made it. We said we were going to believe in what you guys could do without us having all these problems. Dania has always been a pride. Even our high school, even though it was in Hollywood, it was in Dania. We call it Dania Addicts High School. So we're all one family, and I want people here to know, you can't bury history. The history is that 3 young men decided that they wanted to make sure that a wrong was made right so that we can put Marvin to rest and finally thank him, even though he's had problems. But who are we to judge? Never mind about nicknames and all that kind of stuff. some of the things I was called, I dare not even repeat. But God has made it possible for me to be here. So I want to thank you. And once again, let me apologize to you because
No need
I
to
don't usually get
apologize.
upset.
No need to apologize.
But I
to us,
want
sir.
you all to know how much I appreciate you. And please take time to go down and take a look at the fine work that you've done. You all ought to be proud of yourself. And I say this to everybody here. Go down and take a look. Because Dania has always done the right thing. And we have always been a diverse community who believe in coming together. So thanks again. I appreciate it. Of course, I'm a little bit upset, though. But thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, by the way, before I quit, Eric, I recruited him when I was working for Bethune-Cookman University. And Bobby, one of my prize recruits, when they came to me and said, we need a young black lady who can represent your community. I didn't go to Hollywood. I didn't go to Miami over there, right here. She turned out to be one of the best recruits she made me look really good. So a lot of history, and don't forget, the Dania Redbirds were 35-0-1. The best baseball team in the history of Negro League Baseball. And so I'm wearing this jersey so that you all won't forget it when you do your celebration. Thank you again. Thanks for being so patient.
Thank you.
Bobby Grace, 110 Northwest 8th Avenue, Dania Beach, Florida. In case you didn't know what Mr. Fred Junebug Beneby was talking about, I was the first black female PBX operator for Southern Bell, and he recruited me for that job. And I'm very happy to tell you, after working for Southern Bell, Western Electric, the Baby Bells, Bell South, AT&T for 30 years. Thank you for the pension, Mr. Beneby. Also, on another footnote, because we are a very diverse community, and we are connected whether you want to be or not. The children that went to Attucks High School came from Hallandale, Carver's Ranches, which is now West Park, Hollywood, which is Liberia, and Dania Beach, Florida. We were from 9th into 12th grade, and there is some history that you would not even believe that came out of those four corners, because we have some great people that have represented us. We had the best principal ever, Professor J.A. Ely. Now, I was there when John Bertino and Chester Bird did the dedication service in 1988. Bobby Henry from the West Side Gazette did the best story that I thought was presented at that time. Bobby Henry called me tonight and asked me, did I need him to come? I said, no. I said, because everything's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. Because we know how to do things, and we know how to do it right. We truly do. And I know that the dedication that we're going to do in November is going to be second to none, and we're going to do the right thing, regardless to how some people feel, and that's their prerogative, that's their right. We understand it. We can't all agree on everything, but we can disagree, but we can do it very nicely. And if we can't, then I'm not one of those people that don't mind getting down in the dirt with you if you want to do that. You know, I just want you to know. But I believe that this is the right thing to do. Chester and John and all of the commissioners that sat there during that 1988 period. I was there when we did the dedication service, along with Henry Graham and Mr. Beneby and Marvin. I was there. And it was, and the pioneers from not only Dania, but also from Hollywood, Liberia, they were there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Derek Hankerson, 746 Southwest 3rd Street, Dania Beach. I must say, I'm a bit confused. I don't quite understand why we're here. And the reason I say that is, if everything was done and was done marvelously in 1988, why are we back? And I just didn't hear that explanation. Come up. Please come up. Oh, for the record.
We got it, we got it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
All right,
We
thank
got
you.
it.
That I don't understand. There are times in which problems are presented, and I typically feel as though if I can, I like to see a solution presented with it. One of the things that we talk about continuously now is we have not solved our issues of race in this country, and a lot of it is because we don't talk about it. This is an opportunity, if we're going to do something like this, to get everyone involved. And I think that if we do it from a place of inclusion, it can be healing for the entire community, not just those people who felt hurt at that time. And I think we can use this as an opportunity. I don't have the answer tonight of how to do that, but I think there's some brilliant people here, and we can help figure this out. Because I don't want to do this again in 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Come on down, Jimmy, and then I'll call you.
They getting old with me. Jimmy Peterman, 717 Southwest 4th Terrace, Dania Beach, Florida. I think Mr. Bidemy thought I was making derogatory statements about starving merit. But if you go on the internet, it's on the internet, this is his corporation name, Starving Merit. And I knew him as Starving Merit on the corner when he sold his conch plitters and conch salad. And we called him Starving Merit. I don't know how Mr. Bennett didn't know that, and I wasn't trying to make Mr. Merritt bad or anything. Mr. Beneby, we were talking about, and I hear people talk about library and Dania. As a young man, now as a boy, going to Alex Elementary School, middle school, I used to travel by Mr. Beneby's house, going to my friends living on Cody Street and through the Pall Mall. I come by Mr. Beneby's house. My best friends was from Hollywood or Liberia. Mr. Beneby wearing this jersey of the Redbirds, my best friend for 12, 15 years was the manager of the Redbirds. And we were talking about Liberia and Dania, we don't get along. I got along with everybody in Hollywood. I got along with Mr. Beneby's brother was in my class, and Junie. And I have nothing against anyone in Hollywood. I still get along with people in Hollywood. But I'm against naming a street in the cemetery after anybody. I said, we can go up and name my street after Starving Marvin. And my thing is, where is the family? Where is the family? Do the family want the street named after him?
Let Mr. Peterman finish.
No, it's the family. This has been going on a long time. Anybody can answer it. And I know the wife. Very good. And I'm not here to fight anybody about how somebody fell in the grave and found this. I'm just against Dania spending my tax money on somebody living in Hollywood, from Hollywood, naming a street in the cemetery. That's, as a taxpayer, I'm speaking as a taxpayer. These Hollywood people wasn't paying taxes in Dania. And they want to name a street in Dania? I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
I believe we have not given it up. George Palacios.
Address.
218 Northwest First Avenue, Dania Beach, 33004, as we all know. I think that we have to give recognition to the BSO department, the great job that they have done to cleaning up our neighborhood, to cleaning up our city. And the sanitation department that we have working for the city of Dania happens to be one of the few cities in South Florida that actually is at
Sir.
collection without counting on anything. Compliments to them.
Sir, this is a public hearing with regard
Yes.
to the cemetery issue.
Again, I only want to make sure that this new corridor that I want to keep on insisting on.
I understand what you're saying, sir, but if this doesn't have to do with the cemetery issue that we're voting on, then we're...
Yes, but it leads into the cemetery because once we pass Sterling Road, it turns into the same avenue.
Okay, I understand.
So-
We heard you before.
Yeah.
Okay?
So once we go into that cemetery, the cemetery has become part of that whole concept of the old Hollywood. So I support everything that the gentleman is saying over here, how the cemetery should really become a monument for the city of Dania and role model for the whole South Florida.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public to speak about this particular issue with regard to the cemetery? No. Okay. Okay, no, we're good, we got you. Okay. Commissioner James.
He almost made me lose my train of thought. I'm sorry. I like you. Find a way to say what you got to say. In regards to this is heavy. I don't know if anyone else is uncomfortable as I am sitting here listening to all of this, but I do understand where Mr. Peterman is coming from. I met Mr. Beneby a few months ago when he brought this to the commission, and he brought it to me, and I then brought it to the commission. In 1988, the same people that are from Hollywood, and they were recognized by a commission that sat here in Dania. The pastors on the program that the city of Dania had were from Hollywood. The people that were recognized were from Hollywood, although it was an event in Dania Beach. I speak to you as someone who, many of my family members are there. My grandparents are there, my aunts, my cousins, a lot of our family is there. And this divide that we do, and I continue to say at these commission meetings, between Dania and Hollywood, when you step on one side of the road, we can't even pave the road correctly because it's shared with Dania and Hollywood. Most of my life growing up, all of my resources came from Hollywood. And so this little strip of land that's in a cemetery, I think if it was that big of a deal, and it sounds very personal to me, to be honest with you, because you would have a lot more people from these neighborhoods that would be opposed to it. Trust me, I know, because I have a street that's co-named after me, and they came out in the masses for and against it when former Mayor Walter Duke was sitting here on the dais. And so I know what happened. If you can look at in Hollywood and see what happens when they wanted to rename those streets, Hope Street and Freedom Street. They were there all night long in the city of Hollywood to the wee hours of the morning because those people had real concerns about changing, and they still changed the names of the street because it was the right thing to do. We all aren't going to agree. I have no personal interest in this. Like I said, I just met Mr. Beneby a few months ago. We have a lovely program, an event that is lined up to rededicate these graves. When it came to me, I just couldn't sit there and not do something about it. I understand what it is to grow up in poverty, and I understand what it is to grow up black. And I understand when Mr. Salvino was talking about the mob and KKK and all of those things, like these are things that, you know, I have to speak to my son about. And so racism is still alive and well, and the things that have happened back then, you know, we have to be very careful that we do the right thing so it doesn't happen again. And the last thing I'll say on this, Mr. Beneby, I have a Dania Redbirds hat, and I can't even wear it because it's a red hat. And everybody thinks I have on a Make America Great Again hat. And so it's amazing. I can't wear it, and everybody's asking me questions. But it says Dania Redbirds, and I have a lot of community members and such that I know that did have a chance to play on this team that really united this community. If you all don't know, it really united this community. It was played right there at C.W. Thomas Park. It was something that a lot of the community looked forward to doing, and so I definitely am in support of doing the right thing and naming this Marvin Merritt Way. I don't care where he is from. What has been done, and if the commission honored them before, right here in the city of Dania Beach, I think that we should honor them as well.
Vice Mayor.
I agree with Commissioner James. This is something really heavy. And Mr. Hankerson, when he was up there, as sometimes things that he says often do, they sort of resonate in my head. And when you talked about the sort of opportunity for racial healing, this city has a real weird racial history. As a history buff, I've read all about the cemeteries. I've read all about the water plants, and there's a real long, strange history. So when we talk about opportunities for healing this deep divide in a city, or even a deep divide in our country, whatever you're looking at. I guess maybe I think like a nurse. I think of a deep wound, and I think that healing occurs in layers, and it occurs in different places. So I also think of what you said at the previous commission meeting, that sometimes we're not going to agree on exactly what the answer is, but I think everyone here is well-intentioned. I don't know Marvin. I don't, that part of it I don't know, but I do see an opportunity for something that's good and something that's healing. And so I am really proud of this. And I understand maybe it's not perfect, but it came from a place of people who really wanted to do the right thing and honor something that was so awful. So awful. So I'm really proud to support it. And while I understand the concerns that you spoke of, Mr. Peterman and Mr. Hankerson and the other residents who spoke, I see an opportunity. So I'm going to take that opportunity to do the right thing, and I hope you'll see it coming from that place. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve 9.1.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Brandemart.
Before I vote, I want to say something. All roads lead to the cemetery. And we better all open our eyes and see it, because when we close our eyes, that means we've already arrived. And I never want a road in the cemetery named after me. I don't care by then. So yes, do it.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next several items, land use items, are what are called quasi-judicial hearings. Anybody who's going to speak other than attorneys who are representing the applicants on 800 Marine Technical Center, which has 2 applications, and the NV Marina Holdings, and lastly, the Kinley Horn Dania Live 1784. Anybody who's going to speak, including city staff, needs to be sworn in. Anybody who may speak, swear or affirm testimony you'll give will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Commissioners, as they call an application, you could please disclose if you've been contacted either for or against. The first 2 I'll read together since they are related. 9.2 is an ordinance, you can be seated, I'm sorry. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the right-of-way vacation request, VC 8719, submitted by Larry Elader, PA, on behalf of the property owner, 800 Marine Technical Center, Inc., for property generally located between Block 3 and Block 2 to the north, immediately north and south between the intersection of Northwest 9th and 8th Avenues, to the immediate west and east of the plat of Dania Manor, recorded in Plat Book 10, page 53, Public Records of Broward County. Generally described as the northwest third place within the city of Dania Beach, Florida, is legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date, second reading of that ordinance, and the related resolution is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the site plan SP 11217 request, landscape variance request, VA 1919 and VA 2019, building setback variance request, VA 2119, and a chain link fence variance request, VA 11819, submitted by Southeast Architect Services on behalf of 800 Marine Technical Center, Inc., for property generally located on the south side of Old Griffin Road and lying between Northwest 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue within the city of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. So the city attorney read two items. 9.2 is the second reading of the vacation of right-of-way. I made a presentation at first reading. I can go over the vacation again if you'd like. Otherwise, I was going to make my presentation on the site plan and variances for that project as well.
Let's go straight to
Okay.
the site plan, please.
Okay. So the property in question has a marine zoning designation. It is located in the Regional Activity Center. The subject property consists of an existing building and a vacant lot. The vacant lot is under the FP&L transmission lines. The applicant is proposing to construct a surface parking lot for storage of vehicles, which is one of the few uses that is permitted under FP&L power lines. The property owner is also planning to refurbish and complete the existing structure by completing the second floor and adding office space to that existing building. On September, as I mentioned, on September 23rd, the City Commission heard the request for the vacation and recommended approval on first reading. This is the location of the property. So on the top of the screen would be the Dania Canal. This is Old Griffin Road. This is the existing building and structure. There's some open air storage, and this is like a two-story building, and kind of in the middle is a partial building that really isn't complete. They are also including this vacant field. You can see that the transmission lines run this way across and then kind of turn this way. So they are proposing to do surface parking on that lot. This is the right-of-way that was being requested for the vacation, and you can see the existing building on the right and the field on the left. There are some variances that they are requesting as part of this site plan. The first is with regards to the perimeter buffer trees. The applicant's proposing the development of that existing lot under the FP&L lines, and due to the overhead power lines, there is a restriction that FP&L poses on the height of those trees. So they're asking to plant those trees at 14 feet instead of the 16 that's required by the land development regulations. The number of trees will meet code requirement. And then the percentage of the trees, the applicant is requesting to reduce the type of percentage due to the constraints. So what that means is maybe there won't be as many shade trees that are required. They're going to change out some of the shade trees for some of the ornamental or palm trees, so that the mix of trees is going to vary and not meet the requirements of the land development regulations, but that's due to the power lines as well. The next variance is regarding to building setbacks. If you are familiar with the area, you know those roads are substandard and very narrow. So as part of the project, the applicant is being required to dedicate right-of-way. The land development code requires a minimum of 50-foot right-of-way. So where the applicant is adjacent to streets and he has a lot of streets touching his property, he is required to dedicate so that to center line, there's at least half of that width. As a result, the property line is moving because he's dedicating the right-of-way. When the property line moves, that setback no longer meets code requirements in several areas. In one area in particular, on the east side of the building, I think the code requires a 30-foot setback, and the property line's moving right to the edge of the building. So that's one of the reasons for the variance request, is all these dedications that are being made. The last variance request is regarding the fence. The applicant is proposing to construct a chain link fence around the south and east property line where that storage lot will be, where the code requires us an opaque wall. And I can tell you that with that fence, they're also providing a landscape perimeter around the property. So the fence will be coupled with landscape treatment. The land development regulations identifies criteria for which to base variances on. They're identified in the staff report as well, and the applicant has provided a justification statement identifying how the requests are consistent with those criteria. With regards to the site plan, on September 11th, the applicant, or the property owner, met with the Bird Point Neighborhood Association to discuss the project. The property owner also has reported that he went door to door to the general neighborhood, passing out copies of the site plan, meeting with the residents and with the business owners in that area. This project did go through staff review at the Development Review Committee on numerous occasions, starting in November of 2017, again in December of 2018, February of 2019, and June of this year as well. There are several outstanding DRC comments that are left to be addressed by the applicant. They are aware of those conditions, and those conditions are also placed into the resolution. Should you approve the resolution, the applicant will have to meet and address all those criteria before the issuance of building permits. And at this time, we're recommending approval of the resolution for the variances and site plan with the outstanding DRC comments as conditions of approval. However, the vacation of the right-of-way must occur first in order for the site plan to work. So please vote on the vacation first.
Vice Mayor?
I just had a quick question, Corinne. I couldn't see from the pictures in the backup, what are the trees that are already on that property?
There's not many trees on the property.
Okay, so
I don't think there's many trees on the property at all.
So what are they going, they're going to be putting what on there?
Because when you develop it for a parking lot, they have landscape island tree requirements, they have perimeter landscape requirements, because it's essentially a parking lot. So they still have to landscape around the outside, they have to landscape the islands, internally, but there's power lines going over the whole site. So it restricts the height of the trees and the type of the trees that are allowed.
Okay. And why do they have to use the chain link fence? I didn't understand that part either.
That's really the applicant's desire and request. I don't know, you'll have to speak to them about that.
Okay.
I'm just thinking that it would provide additional, like sub-TED issues, visibility of the site, but there is going to be landscaping incorporated with that as well, so.
Okay, so there's going to be landscaping covering the chain link?
Surrounding, on the edge of the property, correct.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Commissioner James?
Yes, Corinne, when you say vehicle is defined as what types of vehicles that would be stored here? RVs, containers?
Not containers. From what I understand, RVs, boats, jet skis, trailers associated with it, vehicles as well. I was going to say to the west is a lot, but they used to have recreational vehicles. It looks now from the aerial that it's mostly vehicles at this point, but I believe the applicant was proposing to do some mix of the recreational vehicles as well.
And is this the site plan?
No.
Oh,
No, this is the aerial photo of the site.
Okay, I want to know how they'll be exiting this.
Yes, so that was something that we did talk about, staff internally and with the applicant, because these roads are substandard, both Northwest 8th and 9th. We, originally, the applicant was proposing to have access off of those roads, and we said because they are substandard, we don't want you using those roads. So we required access from the Northwest 3rd Place. That's the section of the roadway that they're vacating and incorporating into their site plan. So they will be accessing Old Griffin, like down Northwest 9th and on to Northwest 3rd Place. So they won't be going further south on those roads.
Which, is that one Northwest 9th over there? Which one is Northwest 9th?
Yeah, it would be this way.
So they'll still be going,
So
because
they'll
you
come-
can't get two cars on that road at one
Right.
time.
So they would, this is Griffin Road towards the top, so they would come down between, next to the building and then come in on Northwest 3rd and access that property. And they would also be able to essentially use this for parking and I think a loading of their site, of that building as well. So all of that activity would be interior to the site itself off of those the public roads on Northwest 8th and 9th.
And that's how they'll exit as well?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a public meeting. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Bobby Grace, 110 Northwest 8th Avenue, Dania Beach. Through the chair, through the attorney, because I sit on the planning and zoning meeting, am I allowed to talk about this at this time?
You've already made your recommendation, so
Okay.
you're speaking as a citizen now,
Okay.
yes.
Then my objections is that we do not grant this. I'm very concerned that it's so close to the residents of Dania Beach. There are no residents close to the area that he's talking about. These are apartment owners. There are no homeowners leading up to Third Place until you get to where Jamie McCutcheon and those people are on the other side. He did come to the Northwest Bird Point Civic Association. We did ask pertinent questions. In the planning and zoning meeting, I had real hesitations, especially because those roads, as Corinne indicated, are so narrow that I just did, and we cannot control it. BSO can control it. The code enforcement cannot control it. I know that eventually one of those trucks is going to make a determination to come through the residential area. Something's going to happen, and then the city is going to say, you see, I told you we shouldn't have really done it. So I voted against it because I know that it abuts my neighborhood. I know exactly where it is because when we came to Dania Beach, we lived in the little apartments right by the FP&L lines, and I don't think it will be a good mixture for our community. Thank you.
Bob Mikes, 601 Northwest 7th Street. I was going to speak on another item, but, you know, I live in a house we have that's across the canal from there. We've had it for 50 years, and we've had it when actually the tomato plant was still working. Very quiet operation, nice part of the Dania history, and it was very quiet. This, if he expands any of this into this parking area, he has no air conditioning where he does all this steel work in the back, and he slides these doors open, and the noise carries all through the neighborhood. You're going to want as many trees as possible, but I'm afraid he's going to expand maybe into that parking area also. The other problem you've got Dania Point here, and you're pouring cars down that area, and whenever you have a problem on I-95 and they stop the traffic on I-95 and you see it on your TV, well, guess where they're going? They're going down this Little Griffin Road, they're jamming it, and he's got big tractor-trailer trucks. And they're going to be coming through the neighborhood, and then you're going to add RVs on top of it. Personally, I think it belongs in a heavy industrial area and not surrounded by residential housing. And then with the road traffic, you're going to add to this Little Griffin Road, and they come down that road. And by the way, a lot of cars go in. He cleared out the trees that used to block cars from going in the canal. Now about every so many months, a car goes in the canal. Then you got helicopters. Then you've got divers, because that's deep off of there. It's not shallow, not like Mac's place. And cars go in there, so you got divers looking to see if there's bodies in the car, and the current is so fast, it sweeps it toward the bridge. And I've seen it over there tie up traffic for hours. And well, where do you think all that traffic is going to go? It's going to go through these neighborhoods. So you got a problem with that road to begin with. This makes it worse. He has not been easy to work with, in my opinion, as owning a property across the canal from him. And when he cleared the trees out, we never had any robberies in that neighborhood, but now people can go there, and there's tires dumped there, there's construction debris. As soon as they clean that trees out of there, the cars start going in the canal. And now 3 of the 4 houses got broken into. When I lived there for decades and never had anybody robbed or broken into, they can just sit there on the bank and watch us. And it's become a public bathroom area too. I've got pictures and I wouldn't want to show them to you. But anyway, the other thing I'd say, everywhere in this city, because your building's so tight, you need to hold on to every piece of right-of-way you got, because you'll never know 20 years from now what you're going to need. And I've seen it happen time and time again. You can't get that right-of-way back, or you'll pay millions for it, or you got to go to court, and that'll cost you millions. So hang on to every bit of right-of-way. If you got to give them an easement or something, okay, but don't give up the right-of-way. Thank you.
Corinne, I have a question for you. At that location, they're going to be, how much traffic is going to be going back and forth? I mean, is it a matter of they're going to be storing vehicles there, or is it a matter of it's going to be parking coming and going on a regular basis, like cars coming regularly?
It was storage of vehicles.
Can't hear you. You just turned it off now. It's off. It's off. It was on, and now it's off.
If you hold the button
There
down,
you go.
there you go.
Okay.
It's storage of vehicles.
Okay. Just have to come closer to the mic, that's all. Given that location with the power lines, what sort of things can go there? I mean, is it, because that's an unusual spot.
I can't think of anything but parking or storage of vehicles.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else here from the public to speak for or against? No, no.
I'm the applicant.
Okay.
I'd like to speak for it, if I may. My name's Larry Adair. I live in Plantation at 9715 West Broward Boulevard. First I'd like to say, please remind the commission that this was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And there's some inconsistencies here that really don't seem to comply with what the facts are, or the history of the property. The property was originally owned at all times by Florida Power and Light. They put it up for sale. We bought it in 2005. It has deed restrictions severely restricting the use of the property. It can only be used for certain types of vehicles, the storage. You can't have cherry pickers, anything higher, trucks, because they do concern themselves with static or either just random electrocutions that can happen. Hence the 14-foot of the trees. In fact, Florida Power and Light swings a heavy hand in use of their property. It was specifically in the deed restrictions that these references were there. And it's not, in fact, it's a point of conjecture whether the Florida Power and Light restrictions prevail above a subsequently passed building code. But nevertheless, we asked for the variance to reduce the height of the trees. All of the siding has to be either concrete or fiberglass. You wouldn't want anything metal that can detract it. For example, in the summertime, when the power lines heat up, they can drop 10 to 12 feet and sag, if you wish, just sagging down. So they become much closer and they become a much greater hazard. You have to be careful for that. We can't even have a dumpster there that would allow the trucks to pick up because it might exceed the 14 feet. So in this case, the dumpster will have a permanent top on it, so they'll have to back out and away from in a safe zone. We know these roads are narrow. This was platted in 1921, the original Dania Manor. It was replatted as the Dania Corrected Manor in 1926. This was the original cannery. One thing that may have escaped everyone, except my learned counsel here, is that we're operating under a mandatory refurbishment order, that the building was deemed as an incomplete building. We had a partial CO, which was the eastern end of the building, and it was later determined that, okay, you cannot have that open courtyard. So we don't have any choice. We either have to destroy the whole thing or either put a roof on it. As the city commission, is the order that was approved, and we're trying to comply with that. The city has been exceedingly gracious to us to allow this to take place and combine it with the use of the property that we had in 2005, we acquired, which is the FPNL property. The right-of-ways, we're not holding on, we're giving you right-of-ways, we're not restricting them. We've been asked to dedicate those to the 50-foot line, and that's hence the setback issue, is that when we're filing a deed which has been reviewed by council, the city, and approved in the format which, if the site plan approval is and the vacation is approved, we'll go forward and record those deeds, and also we'll file a unity of title, because this property was assembled over many years by the owner. So we've got four, for example, folio numbers, and we really should only have one folio number. But nevertheless, we'll record those right-of-way dedications, which would allow the city, should ever have to come in, the city wouldn't have to bear the cost of the right-of-way. They simply would come in and expand the road, expand 8th or 9th Avenue. Also, the use of the building will not change. It'll simply be, we're just going to put a roof on it. It's not going to change the use. We have a 20-year tenant that's taken over the building, a business that's been there since 1988. And with respect, and I believe this, I've explained this, the history of the commission, is that we acquired this property in 88. In 1989, we pulled a building permit with a site plan. That's the only portion of Northwest 3rd Place that's paved, and we paved it. We hired a road contractor, he brought it in, he built it to the standard of a highway standard, and we've maintained that. And you're right, Mr. Mikes is correct, there's been a lot of trash, there's been a lot of dumping cars, there's been burned cars, We've taken the effort over the years, some 30 years, to completely maintain maintain the road ourselves, and we've always, instead of calling the city, we've always used our own forces, or either hire a special contractor to come out, remove tires, which are most frequent, because that seems to be something that's hard to get rid of. And then there's been appliances, there's been refrigerators, and like I said, abandoned vehicles, which are expensive. You have to have them hauled off, and we pay the hauling. We don't get any salvage from that. Bathrooms. I'm not sure what that has to do with what we're talking about, but the reason the trees were cleared, the underbrush, is that there was a code enforcement a number of years ago. It said, we own the property that has the riparian right onto the canal for about 330 feet. And so we had to, at our own expense, clean up our property, which the code enforcement said, all this scrub brush has to be cleaned up. You can't leave it wild like that. So we weren't promoting open-air bathrooms or defecation over the property. In fact, that's trespassing on our own property. I'm sorry if that's what the result. So the truck traffic should not change. It's not an in-and-out lot. It's a long-term lot that you store vehicles on. It's about the only legal use you can make of that property. Is there any questions, I'm sorry, that you may have? Yes,
Commissioner Harris?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
just to be sure,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval?
That is correct.
That is correct. And Corinne, our staff, recommended approval?
Yes,
Based
I
on
just
the
heard it again
conditions?
this evening.
Are there any current
She's here,
violations?
She can speak for herself.
Are there any current violations on the property?
None that I know of. The applicant provided a clear lien search as well. The Planning and Zoning Board made a recommendation to you as the commission on the vacation of right-of-way. They did not hear the site plan.
I'm sorry, if I misled you.
Plants or nursery, something like that. Yeah.
Good. Commissioner James?
Yes. What type of vehicles again? Because am I hearing jet ski? I guess I want to know what type of operation this is going to be. I do know a few of the property owners that are near here that are not in favor of this, and mainly because people come down this road all the time. You make this into a business. Now, the residents who utilize this road that is very, very narrow, they're going to have to share it with the business. And I know some of the property owners that stay right next to this. And if you go straight, you are into an entire community that has no other businesses right next to it other than right here where we see. You go further south and you have all residences.
Right. I think I can explain. I'm sorry you can't see a copy of the site plan. The only entrance.
Where is it?
Pardon me?
Where's the site plan? Can you show it again so I can?
We have electronic, please? I can have our architect bring it down and show it to you.
No, she can.
But I think I can orally explain it. The only entrance to the parking facility is off of Northwest Third Place. So none of our customers, our use of people using the space on our behalf would go past Northwest Third Place.
Exiting, sorry, not entering, exiting.
They would, well, you'd exit off the Third and then go either out 9th Avenue or 8th Avenue.
North or south? So when I'm saying exiting, because
We
I've
can't
grown up in
control
this
when
area.
someone leaves.
Exactly, and that's
Right,
my point. And
I know your point, but in other words, do they want to go south through the?
They want a shortcut off of Old Griffin, because I'm not sure if you go there during rush hour traffic, when traffic is backed up all the way down there, and this light that is 5 minutes long, but they do go through the neighborhood.
Again, I mentioned earlier, and let me mention again, it's long-term storage of these type
I
of vehicles.
understand.
It's not in and out. This isn't overflow parking from the port, the airport necessarily. This is, there, you'll see, if you can, I don't know what you're looking at, but if you can look
The
at
site plan.
well, no, I understand. If you can look at the parking layout, you'll see diagonal long, very long parking spaces that are made specifically for RVs. There is a market and a necessity for market. If someone would, in boats that are they're on trailers, or a jet ski that's on a trailer, it could be parked there. So this is, again, this is not necessarily, this is long-term storage. It's not for in and out, quick turnover.
Would
There's
there
no
be any-
office buildings here. There's nothing to support that type of parking.
Will there be any stacking of cars?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Will there be any stacking of cars?
I don't know what stacking.
Where one car parks behind
One on
another.
top of the other in a stack?
No, if a car, remember, we can't go over 14 feet with a bush or a tree.
I understand
You know,
that,
so
sir.
there's no stacking.
No, Larry, he means one car would park and another car parks right behind it. That's called stacking.
Oh, tandem. Oh,
Well,
no.
it's not tandem, but
Oh.
it's called.
Okay,
stacking.
I'm finished.
No, we don't have any parking spots that allow that type of parking in the site plan.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yes, ma'am.
You say long-term. What do you consider long-term?
Well, we hope it's month to month. If you
Month to month?
And if you have an RV, you wouldn't vacate your lease with us just because you want to go on a vacation. You're going to have to, when you come home, you need the same place to put it. So it may be annual leases.
That to me would be long-term.
Well, I can't tell you today what the market is going to demand.
Yeah,
but
that's a
what we're-
problem there, because, like I say, to me, I'm worried about, because the road is so narrow, and I'm worried about big RVs on that road and me being on it at the same time. But when you say long-term parking, I liked it at first because I'm thinking long-term parking.
It's not overnight parking, it's not by the hour, it's by the week, by the month, by the year. you know.
So by the week, there could be a lot of traffic, correct? Of
No,
big
ma'am.
vehicles?
I think that's that's not a fair assessment, no.
But don't tell me when I'm fair and when I'm not fair.
No, I
first of
said I
all.
don't think that is a fair
Okay, just don't,
assessment.
let's
You
go
think
there,
it is,
and I'm done,
maybe.
I'm done, thank you.
All right, sorry.
Any other questions? Vice Mayor.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
My name's Larry Adair.
Hey, Larry.
Yes, ma'am.
So, do you understand the concerns of what we're trying, of what we're imagining in our head about well, let me just full stop there. Because I don't know, because I'm thinking maybe we're not talking about the same problem, and maybe that's the issue.
Right. I always think of it, do we have a legal right to develop the property? And yes, we do. Is the use that we're proposing legal, and is it embraced by the code? Yes, it is. And have we tried to comply with and make two masters happy here? We've had to serve the city code, and we've had to serve the FP&L code. And because of the FP&L code, it has become more expensive and more restrictive, hence just the filing of the variances. So we've tried to serve both masters well. And I think that it's I know the roads are narrow. The city has known that since 1921 when they paved those roads. And when you were hauling tomatoes, maybe that didn't make much difference. Today, you're right. If you kept going north to south, if the traffic was to increase, you would have an incidence. And I don't know what the traffic count is going north to south from the residential areas if they go to Griffin to go out. But there is a possibility, obviously, that you could run in, that you could have to pull off the side and let an RV pass or you pass, either way. That can happen. That can happen today, though. It's irrelevant whether we're there or not.
Well, I think from the commission standpoint, and I really do understand your frustration for having that, as you said, trying to serve different masters and to appease different entities. And I understand that. But at the same time, what you just said, that last sentence, I think that's what's coming into our mind is that conflict of thinking of, the cars coming in or out and then having to pull over to the side because there's an RV, and this could happen every week, or because while I understand it's not overnight parking and it's not hourly parking, weekly parking or monthly parking, it could be problematic. And I think that's what we're seeing in our head when we're looking at the site plan and what we know of that area. So I guess I was just trying to articulate what I think the
No, I understand.
or at least my perspective was.
Yeah, that concern was yesterday, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and maybe, and until the city, the county agrees to widen those roads, but we're giving you that property. We're donating that as a
I understand.
dedication.
As
And hope that will happen.
As an afterthought, where do the fire rescue enter from?
I'm sorry, I have a hearing loss from
Okay,
my
I'm
military
sorry.
days.
I'm being
I didn't understand.
It's okay, I'm being soft-spoken. So fire rescue, where do they come in from?
Come in from where?
They could come in from 9th or 8th, right?
Our Old Griffin, our 3rd.
Okay, so again, if they're coming in from 8th or from 9th,
But you're talking about the building, right? The building at Block 3.
yes.
You're not worried about cars burning up in the parking lot.
Well, I guess I have several different concerns, and I'm just trying to sort of work through them with you to, one, make sure we're both talking about the same kind of concerns, and to two, to see if we can get on the same page about them. So I guess my thought was fire safety, and imagining, I suppose, the same scenario that if you had an RV coming through and one of the large fire trucks, how would they negotiate
This
that?
is our architect, and I think he can address that.
What's your name?
Francisco Montanar.
And your address, please.
My address is 3301 Northeast 5th Avenue, Miami, Florida. I think we met all the standards for the fire trucks width. We don't have issues on regards to that. On the width of actually they ask for more. I think our entrance is 25 feet when the standard is 24. And we have a page specifically for that fire truck issue that you might have. Like we show all the radius going in and how it goes gonna go out and how it goes around the south property. And on regard to stacking, we do have space for stacking. If we have pretty much, I think it was 20 feet at least from one of the sides of the street to the first gate. Any other questions? Maybe
Any
I
other
can help out.
questions?
Was that responsive to?
Yeah,
Was that responsive to your question,
I
Madam Vice
think
Mayor?
I'm able to beam the response from between what you said and what your architect said, yes.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion? On the vacation? First?
Because we're voting on two separate
Right, but we have to address.
The vacation has to pass in order to get to the variances. If it doesn't pass, you don't get to the variances.
I guess I'll make a motion to deny the request for the vacation.
Is there a second?
I just need one moment. Okay, and I'm sorry, Tom, in the second reading, and my computer's being really slow, and the second portion is for what again?
The resolution is for 3 different variances.
Okay.
But if the vacation does not become approved, you won't consider the variances. They need the vacation to do that.
Okay, and your motion was for denial of the vacation?
Yes.
Okay. I'll second that.
You call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandimart,
No.
Commissioner Harris,
No.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
No.
Motion failed 2-3. No. Which means it was not denied.
City clerk,
Yes.
there's a mistake, I think, up here. I was not voting to do it.
That's not what the motion was to deny the vacation.
I
So-
deny it.
Tom?
You voted, Ms. Brandamati, to say, I disagree with Ms. James's motion,
Thank you very,
which means you said yes to the vacation.
see?
I don't think, is that what you want to do?
Tell them
It-
what you
it-
want to do.
Tell them, I don't want to approve this because I don't like the part about moving over to let an RV go by.
So you would have to say yes to deny it.
So I have to say yes to deny it.
But that's not the case on the site plan.
That's what you intended, that you did not want to approve the vacation?
Yes, Tom, you got it
Then-
right.
then-
And that was my reason why, because
Okay, Mr. Adair wishes
I
to
got a
say
reason.
something if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Adair.
I'm sorry, do I understand the
Okay, stop,
They
please.
denied the
They
request.
denied the,
So-
should I explain the,
You can try, but they've turned it down. There's 3 people that do not want to do this.
okay, then we'll talk about it, our other alternative. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we proceed next. We skip item 3 because we won't go there, because it needed to have approval. So we're going to 9.4, which is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28, the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Article 100, General Use Regulations applying to all zoning districts, Article 110, Use Regulations for Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts, Article 200, User Guide for Part 2 of the Code, Part 3, Special Zoning Districts, creating Subpart 5, Planned Small Lot Mixed-Use Development District, PMUD-SL, Article 350, Planned Small Lot Mixed-Use Development District, PMUD-SL, Article 300, How to Use, Article 405, Utilities and New Subdivisions, Article 410, Drainage Facilities, Article 420, Approval Guarantee and Construction of Off-Site Improvements, Article 500, General Provisions, How to Use, Article 505, Sign Regulations, Article 510, Principal Arterial Commercial Design Standards, Article 515, gasoline service stations. Article 520, large retail establishment standards. Article 530, parking structure design. Article 600, general provisions and application requirements. And Article 635, site plans, to provide for planned small lot mixed-use development district, PMUD-SL regulations, development review procedures and requirements, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date. It's the second reading of this ordinance, continued from the September 23 commission meeting.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is second reading of the text amendment creating the planned mixed-use small lot zoning district. I made a full presentation on first reading. I can make a second presentation if you like, but it is second reading, and it's creating the new zoning district, which is the planned small lot mixed-use district.
Does anyone need a second presentation? No? Okay. This is the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? You can come up. Please state your name and address, please.
Colin May Jones, 22 Northwest 14th Ave. Which address is this?
This is the text amendment for Bryan
Along
Road.
Bryan Road, the ones you talked about.
Yeah, not unless they give a definition of what mixed use is. I'm opposed from it because I don't want noise to interfere with my quality of life.
Corinne, I think she wants to know if there's like entertainment or anything like that involved in that location.
The zoning district, the item is to allow, to create the zoning district. The zoning district allows a mix of uses, but the exact mix is to be determined when they rezone the property and there's a master plan that gets established. That's one of the later items on the agenda. So I can't speak to exactly what the mix of uses are permitted in the district. It depends on when they go to the next step. So for the next item, I can answer that, but for this item, it's not specific.
Commissioner James.
Yes, Corinne, this text amendment is just to create a zoning district. It is not for a specific property right now, correct?
Correct. There's an item
Okay,
later on the
but she
agenda
seems
that does,
confused.
right, and when you get more specific with site plans, then we start seeing what's happening on the property.
Correct. So this
this
isn't,
item-
this isn't for a site plan or a specific property. It's just to create the zoning. And then each applicant will have to come back and show the site plan and rezone that one. Okay, thanks.
Vice Mayor.
So Colin, if we see a guitar going up, we're going to know there's a problem, okay? I'm going to smack it down, but this is just a zoning. And it's really complicated, though. And, you know, I know a lot of people don't know the differences at first, so I'm really glad you asked that question and got the clarification. But just to understand that this is just the very, very first part of amending the text, and everything else of what goes there and what's appropriate and how it's going to mishmash with the neighborhood and how it's going to affect the residents, that all comes later, and we would make sure to make the right decisions then.
If you're going to speak, you need to come up and speak in the mic.
So why don't they give us their intentions up front?
Because they don't know yet. They
Because
don't
that's
have to
not
have
the purpose
a.
of the text amendment. The text amendment is just to change, literally, the text. So there's no, it's not the intention to put anything specific of what is going to be there. You know, this allows for guitar-shaped hotels. This allows for tiki bars. You know, do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's a very lengthy process. It's a lengthy process to put anything in because you have to go through several different steps. Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, also, this is like a new category, and I don't think we're going to put the guitar from Hard Rock there. In fact, I think we'd vote no to that. And I think what your concern is loud music and stuff, isn't it, girls? Just like I know where now. No, that isn't going. I know what
I
you
make a
meant.
motion
Second.
to approve.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandimart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next four items are each going to be withdrawn. I'm going to read the title in case anybody is here who wishes to speak, but each of the next four are going to be withdrawn. Item 5 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28 of the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Part 1 Use Regulations, Article 110 Use Regulations for Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts to provide for liquor package stores as a permitted accessory use to a retail use, amending Part 3 Special Zoning Districts, Subpart 1 Community Redevelopment Area CRA Form-Based Zoning Districts to provide for liquor package store as a permitted accessory use to a retail use, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date, second reading. Again, that ordinance is not going to be considered tonight, but if people are here because it was publicly noticed in the paper, they may speak to it. There's really no point in doing that because it's going not to be
Tom,
considered.
I have a question for you. You said it was going to be withdrawn.
Withdrawn means it's
is it
not going to proceed.
Not at all?
That's,
Or
it's not going to proceed now.
not? Okay, it is coming back, though.
Yes, it's, all these items are coming back November the 12th.
Okay.
Are they going to be changed somewhat, or we don't know?
Yes.
They will be changed.
They're going to be re-advertised.
But the text will be changed? Okay, they'll be different.
Okay.
So there's nothing to
So-
talk about.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
but
All you do is open it up, Madam Mayor.
That's
see
what I'm gonna do.
If anybody's here.
that's what I'm going to do.
All right.
Although it's not going to be voted on tonight, if anybody's here to speak for or against, you may get up and speak. Anybody?
Okay?
No.
Item 6, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 4 Alcoholic Beverages of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Article 2 Operation Regulations, Section 4-18, Hours of Sale, modifying the hours of package sale for liquor, beer, and wine for off-site consumption conducted as an accessory use to a retail grocery store use with a minimum of 20,000 square feet, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. Second reading of that ordinance also being withdrawn this evening.
Again, is that another one that's going to be coming back at a later date?
That's
with
correct.
new text? Okay. Although it's not going to be voted on tonight, if there is anybody here to speak for or against, you are welcome to come up and do so now. No? Okay.
Item 7, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28, the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Part 1 Use Regulations, Article 110 Use Regulations for Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts to provide for liquor package store as a permitted accessory use to a retail use, amending Part 3 Special Zoning Districts, Subpart 1 Community Redevelopment Area CRA Form-Based Zoning Districts to provide for liquor package store as a permitted accessory use to a retail use, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. It's the first reading of that ordinance. It's continued from the September 23, 2019 Commission meeting, also being withdrawn.
And changed and brought back at a later date?
Yes.
Okay. Although it's not being voted on tonight, this is a public hearing, and if there is anyone here to speak for or against, you may do so now. Seeing no one, next.
Lastly, item 8, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 4 Alcoholic Beverages of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Article 2 Operation Regulations, Section 4-18, Hours of Sale, modifying the hours of package sale for liquor, beer, and wine for off-site consumption conducted as an accessory use to a retail grocery store use with a minimum of 20,000 square feet, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. It's the first reading of that ordinance continued from September 23, 2019, also being withdrawn.
And again, coming back later with changes in text.
That's correct.
Presumably. Okay. So again, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak for or against, although we will not be voting on it tonight, you are welcome to come up at this time. Seeing no one?
Okay, item 9, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the request made by Stephanie J. Toothaker, Esquire, PA, Toothaker, ORG, and Greenspoon Martyr on behalf of Dania Beach Marina Corp., NV Marina Holdings, LLC, RJ Marina Holdings, LLC, and Project USA, LLC, to rezone under RZ 10419 the properties generally located at 90 North Bryan Road, 50 South Bryan Road, 70 South Bryan Road, and 150 South Bryan Road in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy which is attached to this ordinance, from Industrial Research Office Marine, IROM, and General Business C3 to Planned Small Lot Mixed Use Development, PMUDSL, subject to certain restrictions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date. First reading, this is also continued from the September 23, 2019 Commission meeting.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is first reading of the rezoning. So this property is actually asking to rezone to the PMUD SL that you just created moments ago. So the existing zoning on the property, there's assembly of properties that I'll show you in a moment. So there's more than one zoning designation that's currently on those properties. They consist of IROM, the Industrial Research Office, Marine, and General Business zoning districts today. They are asking for the PMUD SL zoning designation. That these properties are located in the Regional Activity Center. The subject properties are located on the east side of Bryan Road, north of Sterling Road, and south of Northwest 1st Street. Together, assembled, they're approximately 11 acres in size. The rezoning application is being requested in preparation of redevelopment of these properties. At this time, there is a site plan submitted only on the southernmost property, which is 150 South Bryan Road, for a multi-story mixed-use building. The existing zoning designation on those properties today does not permit for this type of use, which is why there's the request to rezone the properties today. This is something I showed as with the first reading of the PMUD text amendment. This is the area at two different points in time, and this is just a very short time from 2015 to 2019. You can see the differences. So I-95 runs along the left side of the screen, Sterling to the south, and you can see there's a big lake, and this was Silica Sand, the mining facility. We had the roller coaster or the racetrack and roller coaster for Boomers. These were platted industrial lots for warehouse development. Of course, all of that changed because now we have Dania Point, which with all these retail activities that are happening. So the area has definitely changed. It's no longer the industrial corridor that it once used to be, which is part of the reason for the rezoning request tonight. So with the PMUD zoning request, requires that a master plan be submitted at the time of site plan, at the time of the rezoning, which is what the applicant has provided. This site plan indicates the parcel. So this is the Bryan Road corridor. Sterling Road is on the right, and these are the parcels that are assembled to create those 11 acres that are assembled. These uses are identified as residential, commercial, office, marine in the blue. I believe the marine is left out in the purple. It's just the commercial, residential, and office. So those are the mix of activities that they're proposing on those properties today. Staff has requested that there be some additional information provided in that master plan, and there's a list of some of the additional information that we're still looking for. Those are identified in the staff report as well, and we're working with the applicant to get that additional information before second reading of the rezoning request. In the land development regulations, there are criteria for rezoning, which the applicant, those are identified in your staff report as well, and the applicant has been able to submit a document identifying how their requests are consistent with these rezoning criteria. The Planning and Zoning Board did hear this item, and they recommended approval of the rezoning request. And at this time, we're recommending approval of first reading of the request as well, and representatives for the applicants here to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Brandon.
Mayor, it was back on the Publix thing, so
Oh.
I'm going to withdraw that till
Till it
later.
comes up again? Okay.
Yeah, good.
Does the applicant have a presentation also?
I was just, my name is Stephanie Toothaker. I'm here on behalf of Symbol Development, who is the developer that has 150 Bryan Road under contract. I'm not going to make a full presentation. As usual, Corinne has done an extremely thorough job. I just wanted to let you know that I'm here, our team is here, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. And I think Nectaria probably wants to.
Good evening, Nectaria Chalkis with the firm Lockery and Chalkis. We are a co-applicant in this rezoning. Again, we'd like to thank staff for working with us on this, and we're looking forward to bringing you the site plan. This is obviously the first step in a very long process, and we're looking forward to bringing that to you.
Commissioner Harris?
Stephanie, the setback of the building from Bryan Road.
Yes.
Is how much? I mean, I'm thinking about the position of the building versus the linear park along the waterway.
Right.
I mean,
So-
are we going to have enough room for both?
So our site plan, as Corinne had mentioned, we actually did already submit a site plan, but it's sort of stopped while we worked through the text amendment, the master plan, and the rezoning. Our original setback was 16 feet. It was 6 feet of sidewalk and 10 feet from the right-of-way. We've had additional discussions with staff as we evolve and as we develop and as we start talking about, what the master plan is going to contain. There have been discussions about widening that. There have been discussions about additional right-of-way. I want to say that I don't think that those details have been completely fleshed out. We are confident that we can get those worked out between first and second reading to hopefully to everybody's satisfaction.
And just to follow up, in a perfect world, how does one imagine how wide Bryan Road could really be? And will it be able to carry all the traffic from Sterling on Bryan Road to Old Griffin? And that will be developed in the master plan as well?
So the master plan does speak to cross-sections of the right-of-way now, and Corinne touched on it, on the conditions. It's one of the conditions that's part of your package this evening, that discussion has to be determined definitively between first and second reading. I think we had started at 16. I know in discussions with staff, they'd like to maybe see a little bit more. We've done some studies. Those studies have been presented to staff, and we appreciate the opportunity, hopefully, to move forward to tonight. But when we come back to you on second reading, we will present exactly what that is, and hopefully that'll have buy-in of all of the various parties that have been involved in the discussion. Thank you.
Commissioner James?
Yes. Sorry. So at what point are we talking about this 22-foot setback, and how does that affect your project?
So our site plan still has a long way to go. Obviously, we're going to have to take it through the process, and we'll have very specific discussions about the site plan. When we initially submitted our site plan, it was 16 feet. The 22 feet came up in subsequent studies. I'm sorry, it was 10. Okay, sorry. Asi, it's just correcting me. It was 10 feet. I thought it was 16. Are you sure with the sidewalk, it didn't have 6? 10 feet from the property line, okay. I'm sorry, I apologize. So let me clarify. It was 10 feet, and then in a later iteration, it was 16 feet, which included 6 feet. So we kept moving the building back. And in the latest iteration, we were asked to do a study that showed additional right-of-way and a turn lane. So we did that study, and the latest iteration, which was actually in Corinne's presentation, shows 22 feet. At 22 feet, I'm not sure that our project works. It pushes the building all the way back up to the point of the water. And we had also provided on our site plan, at the request of staff and with discussions, a pedestrian easement along the water that would connect the properties on the water side. At some point, something has to give, and I think that's why we're here this evening, having, not being able to present to you the finality of what that master plan would call for, because we provided a study. I know Kimley Horn provided a study showing that 22 feet. It definitely creates a problem for the in our opinion, a problem for the building that we would like to have the opportunity to sit down with all of the parties, not just ourselves, but all of the different planners that are involved, Mark and Corinne, and determine exactly what can be done in that right-of-way.
Thank you. I have a question for Corinne. I want to know why we're requesting 22-foot setback if it's going to push the, okay, I got a question from Mark. Sorry. She was like,
Hi, Commissioners. Mark LaFerrier, Community Development. I'm sorry I stepped out for a minute because I wanted to explain to the constituents, to answer some of the questions that they had about the last agenda item that you passed. So I missed part of this discussion. I was kind of a little concerned that it got to that level of detail. There was a request by the Broward MPO and by the DOT to consider a widening of the widening of Bryan Road. This is one of those critical moments for a city and the development community to make a decision about a roadway configuration. We still have time to do it the right way. If we approve it without the additional thought to go into it about whether it's going to be 22 feet or 20 feet or 17 feet, then we may shut the door on any opportunity to have an expanded roadway, which now people believe will need to occur in the future. So we do have some disagreements on what the final configuration of that roadway is, one that's been done by this developer and one that's been done by another developer. So we've got to sit down this coming week and work out the resolution of that. I think it's all possible, but we won't know until we get into a little more detailed discussion.
So just to be clear, the roadway currently has not been expanded?
The roadway that's currently out there today, that's not an expanded roadway. That's a roadway design that's a total of 5 lanes when you include the turn lanes.
Okay.
What the request by the MPO and by the DOT is for a roadway design that would have 2 more lanes. So you'd have 2 through lanes that are uninterrupted, just like a regular 4-lane divided roadway with turn lanes.
Okay, so I guess my issue with this is, however many years ago, when Daniel Point was assembled, as massive as that project was, this wasn't the thought for them to bear that cost. But now you have a development that is a fraction of that. To have to bear that cost for their project just doesn't seem feasible.
No, they wouldn't be bearing that cost. They would simply be setting back the building far enough.
So that's bearing
so
that
it
cost
wouldn't be
because they're saying
precluding.
that it won't, their project might not be able to work with that big of a setback. So they don't have as much.
That's why I stood up, because I was surprised they made that statement, because I don't think they can make that statement definitively, and you didn't hear me make that statement definitively. Simply, all we're trying to do is just get to a setback for the building so they can build their building, but in the future, if the agencies come along and say, we'd like to widen that roadway, they don't have to buy out a building, which would mean that that roadway would never be expanded. So as I started at the beginning of my answering the questions, this is a pretty important moment to get this thing right. And I don't think that they can stand up and say that they've got the answer yet until we sit down and look at it. They just gave me their cross-section on Tuesday of last week.
Well, I definitely don't want to make a decision until I definitely see a site plan to see if it all makes sense. I need to see it all together, and this piece puzzling is kind of confusing. What about the art fee? I keep hearing a lot about the art fee and how the art fee is really expensive, and I don't know how we're having an art fee and we don't even have an ordinance yet.
There's a art fee this is a new, excuse me, this is a new zoning district. So we use this opportunity to sort of lead it as a pilot for these projects, any projects that would be zoned PMUD SL, which at this stage, it's just a zoning district. It's not specific to a property yet. That they would participate in a art in public places program.
How much would that be for this project?
I think it's 1.5%. Is that what it was?
I need a number.
Yeah, it's 1.5% of the total value of construction.
So what is that number?
Well, what we said in this ordinance is it would be at a maximum of 1.5%, but whatever it is that the city adopts later on is what would be the applicable requirements.
Okay, can I have somebody in finance give me a number other than 1.5%?
We don't know the value of the construction right now.
Because I know, because I've heard numbers before and now I'm not.
I'm sorry, it's
hearing the number.
0.5. It's 0.5? Okay, yes, 0.5 up to 150,000.
Up to 150.
Okay.
Oh.
No, I just wasn't familiar with the ordinance as you asked the question.
Okay, so I guess my issues from this discussion is I definitely need to see it all together. Me, for one, I've seen the area change all my life. I was born and raised right there. I definitely don't think another freeway. Next thing you know, you have a SunPass lane on Bryant Road. I don't think it needs to go. I don't think a freeway needs to go there, and I don't think we need to expand to 7 lanes on Bryant Road. I don't think that community needs that. I think it opens up the door to a lot of displacement, and I think those residents will be gone within 10 years of that happening. If, I know we have to set a precedent of what we want to do with our infrastructure and what our traffic concerns, but we also need to be concerned about the residents and the people that are directly affected by these decisions that we're making tonight about this.
Commissioner Harris? No? I have a couple of concerns that I have expressed privately before. Expanding that roadway, coming from Sterling, not such a big deal, but coming from Old Griffin, it's going to be a huge deal. And even right now, I have concerns with the way that whole area was changed because there's no light there, just a stop sign at Old Griffin and Bryan Road, and there's a very significant blind spot. My concern is that if now you're going to expand this further and you're going to add more density over there, you're going to have potential for more problems and more accidents and things like that at that location. Is there anything in talking about expanding that roadway to correct that intersection?
You mean the intersection of First and
and
Bryan Road?
First and Bryan Road and Old Griffin and Bryan Road, because they're both going to lead right in there.
Well, remember, tonight's discussion is really about a rezoning and the future development of the site, of the properties on the east side of Bryan Road. It's not about a roadway design. It's really only about making sure the buildings are set back far enough so that new roadway design might be possible. If that new roadway design is possible and the agencies decide to undertake it, and actually the MPO wanted to put it in their long-range transportation plan, which means that the agencies would come back and redesign Bryan Road, and then each intersection with Bryan Road would also be redesigned, so it would be a safer condition.
Okay.
And a four-lane section, I think we're all familiar with. There's a lot of four-lane sections that have divided roadways. That's pretty typical throughout Broward County. That's kind of a narrower kind of roadway design also.
And I know that we don't have a final plan at this point. I know we're only at first reading. So am I understanding or misunderstanding that by the second reading, we'll have something more final as far as what this is going to look like? Or
Yes.
something? We'll have more details?
Yes. Oh, yes.
How much more detail will we have by the next
Well,
meeting?
then there's a cross-section in the master plan. The rezoning includes a master plan. There's a cross-section of the roadway with setbacks. Because that roadway isn't yet designed, we can't really put the roadway cross-section there. It simply is identified as a setback, a larger setback.
But this is a much smaller project than Dania Point overall.
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to make it clear that the agencies, nor is the staff, nor do I think the city should be asking for this, any of these applicants to build that roadway. This is something that would be undertaken by the MPO.
Okay.
And it would be years in advance. We just don't want to put a building where the road could go.
Right.
When we don't have to.
Commissioner Harris?
In the LRTP with the MPO, there is a long-range plan for restructuring Bryan Road and Old Griffin Road and adding some additional lanes to take traffic northbound to I-95 over the part of the land there that used to be the Hilton Hotel. So there is a plan. I think it goes out to 2025 or 2030 or 2045.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's already the cemetery.
At the very least,
There is
the
a plan.
design for this roadway, at the very least, this design for the roadway is at least 10 years out.
For the first step of this is just to
Make sure a building isn't where a
make
future
sure-
road
yeah,
might want to
take a
be.
look at where we're going to put the building and then go on from there.
Commissioner James?
Well,
sorry.
we know where all roads lead, right, Commissioner Brandon Marty? Before I make my motion, I just want to ask, when did the MPO ask for this request?
I think it was in August, in a meeting that we had with them in August.
Okay, and they asked that we set our setback so that it may be a future lane?
What they do is they do their annual programming for the roadway projects. And this is on the county's arterial system and along with the state system. They do the master planning and the request for funding at the MPO. They had passed on their first reading a whole plan that's called their LRTP or their 2045 plan. This roadway expansion was in that 2045 plan. They asked us to put it in our resolution, which we didn't do when it came back to the commission because we felt it was too premature to make it a part of our plan. But to ask the developer to push back a setback 7 more feet for a future roadway expansion that all agencies and the city may need very much, to me seemed to be a pretty reasonable request. And until we can sit down with the applicant, who only sent me his cross-section last Tuesday, and to look at it in detail so we can figure out whether or not it could work.
Okay.
And we won't bring it back to you until we come to a resolution on it.
Okay, I'm going to ask that the item be moved or approved subject to, understanding that we're going to see this with the setbacks and see how it's going to work.
I'd just like to make sure that no one else from the public wants to speak, since this is a public hearing. Ms. Grace?
Just move it, Shell.
10 o'clock.
Bobby Grace, 110 Northwest 8th Avenue, Dania Beach. The applicant did come to the Northwest Burt Point Civic Association meeting, and we talked in great lengths about the project, the 8 stories, the 302 apartments. We talked about the traffic on Bryan Road because that leads right into our neighborhood. We talked about their partnership with our parks and to make sure that we had something that the community and the applicant can work together with. We do not want a widening of Bryan Road. We're really happy with what Dania Point and the city of Dania Beach has done. That road has never looked so good. Traffic has never moved so smoothly. I've been talking behind the scenes with some of the county commissioners. There is something in the works that they're going to revamp Old Griffin Road to put up, make the roads a little bit wider and also put up street lights because we've been trying to get that since I've been in the city. So I won't tell you how long that's been. But as the commissioner talked about it, it's in the working, but you're talking 2025. I think it might happen before that because I know that there's a concern. Some of our residents have gone up to the county meetings and talked to some of the county commissioners about it. I'm happy, and I know my residents are, because we are actually able to get in and out of our communities very smoothly now, going out the back way with Bryan Road to Dania Point. It would be a travesty to have 7 lanes in there. I can remember, and none of you were here except Commissioner Brandon Marty and the gentleman that's sitting in the back who was the mayor and I was the vice mayor. When we tried to do the options on Sheridan Street, we had to partner with the city of Hollywood and the city of Dania Beach to try to widen that corridor so we would have a flow of traffic on that corridor and also going Federal Highway so that we would have the congestion that we've been having. I think that having them set the building back 2,200 feet they will be in the canal. And definitely not going to ask them to do something like that because I know what that would entail is the project wouldn't work. You talked about and you watched the people from Dania Place. I think that eventually you probably will see some of those people that will be, when this project is finished, will be moving there. I know some of the residents for Northwest Burt Point are considering when they no longer can maintain their homes, that they will be in the maintenance because we want to get away from the maintenance because we're getting older. We would like to move out there because it will be feasible for us to make the payments in this. And they gave us a great breakdown as to how much the 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. So this is never DOT, anybody that you can talk to, please do not let them try to put a 7 lane in there. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public here to speak for or against? Do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll second it.
Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brandemart? No. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Again.
Did you read the motion?
Motion carries 5-0.
Let's
The
put your
motion
mic
is
on.
to adopt the ordinance 2019-018 on first reading.
Would you like to vote again, Commissioner?
It's yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-0.
5-0.
Thank you.
Item 10, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving a site plan SP 12419 submitted by the applicant, Kelly Horn and Associates, Inc., on behalf of the property owner Dania Live 1784-2 LLC for the property located on the north side of Sterling Road between Bryan Road and Interstate 95 in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts for further funding for an effective date.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is a site plan application for a property in Dania Point. It's in Phase 2, Dania Point. It's the second Avery building. It's a residential building. It's in Dania Point, so it is zoned PMUD. This property itself is a vacant parcel in Phase 2. The request for site plan is for 336 residential units along with an associated parking structure. So it's hard to see because Dania Point site is so large, but it is on the west side of Bryan Road. This is the site plan. You can see the parking garage on the south portion of the property, and then how the units wrap around the north and the east sides. And this is the rendering of the proposed building. And this is the second phase for the Avery, the second residential building that's being proposed. This application did go to the Development Review Committee and was reviewed by staff in August of this year. The City Commission, some previous actions that the Commission took in Phase 2 recently. You saw approval of an office building earlier this year. And the Phase 2 itself for Dania Point was originally approved in 2016. This wasn't part of that original site plan, which is why they're coming forward separately with the residential structure now. The applicant is requesting the 336 units. It's part of Phase 2. The site itself is a little bit over 3 acres in size. The signs will be meet code when they come in and at time of building permit. Let's see, I think we addressed these. There are substantially addressed all of the DRC comments. I think there's only 2 outstanding comments, and they relate to impact fees that have to be paid at time of building permit, but those are included in the resolution if it's approved this evening. And at this time, staff's recommending approval of that resolution with those conditions in the resolution as conditions of approval. And the applicant should be here to answer any questions you may have.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the item.
Second.
Third, fourth.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item is discussion and possible action. First item is discussion on outdoor billboard advertising from the Vice Mayor.
In the interest of time, Mayor, I would like to defer my first item into another time and then to move to my second item.
That's fine with me. Anybody have a problem? Okay, next, go to number 2, which is Dania Beach 115th birthday.
All right. So I know we talked about this a little bit at the last CRA meeting, I believe, not today, is the one previous to that, about what, if anything, we were going to do with the original idea brought forth by the mayor for a celebration event at Tropical Acres, which was so generously offered to us by them for about I think a 200 person brunch where they were going to, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor or City Manager, but to donate the the drinks and the space and the food?
That was my understanding.
Okay, so, and then budget time came around, and we got rid of certain items. There was some discussion whether removing the funding meant removing the event altogether. And that sort of brings us where we are today, where we really have to tell Tropical Acres at this point, are we going to accept their generosity and do something with it, or not? Because, it would be rude not to let them know. So there's a couple of different ways we could do this. There was the original idea. Then we had also spoken about doing something more with a small town kind of feel, inviting everyone from the city who wanted to purchase a ticket. I think we threw around the idea of about a $10 to $15 price point. We talked about that money going to different things. The money to help establish the Dania Beach Historical Society as being one of them, and then also honoring the living dignitaries of the city. And it just seemed like a really fun, nice, small, manageable event. I suppose not everyone felt that way. But I didn't want to let this die in the weeds because there's some people who are still excited about it and are still interested in it. I heard Miss Grace talk about a Broward County, like doing it here, some kind of birthday event. So, I mean, we could do 3 birthday events because we have the Dania After Dark. We could also, they offered us other dates, so we could do it a little bit later after the new year. We can still even call that a birthday. It doesn't have to be in your birthday month if you wanted it to. My point being that there's still several different ways of salvaging this. If you want to, if that's the will of the commission. And I am just here to take the temperature on it and to see if you all are still interested in keeping it. I think for about $3,000, pretty minimal amount, we can pull off something quite nice that that will really be something that the residents will be happy with, and something really wonderful will come out of it, which is the money to help establish the Historical Society, which several people are looking forward to. Thoughts and feelings?
My thoughts on it are, I don't like turning anything away that somebody offers to us for free. Again, I go back to the fact that they have an anniversary this year, the same time that we do, and I think putting the money towards the Historical Society is a great idea. It would help, it goes towards the same vein. And I don't even, honestly, I think 3,000 is even more than we probably need, but 3,000 is reasonable. And that's just my feelings on it. Commissioner Harris? Sorry.
Same, agree, because I think when we talked the last time, so $10, $15 for a champagne brunch in honor of the birthday, and all proceeds going to the Historical Society or whatever we choose. I mean, it would be a nice little benefit.
I would still like to do it in November. Are there any thoughts about doing it in November?
I'd love to do it in November.
Generally, when party planning, I mean, the time-consuming part is putting together the food and the space and all that. So since we have really, I'd say 90% of this put together, the next part would just be getting in line the invitations and things like that, and I suppose that would be the attendance would really be the remaining item.
Commissioner Brandon-Murray?
I know the comment about giving somebody that's so generous something for free. Yeah, free when it's for everybody, not free when it's just for a chosen 200 people or 100 people. And I am in favor of embellishing where we're already a success, and that is Dania after dark. Go there. There's hundreds of people there. That's where we should be celebrating with the core of the city, right here at City Hall, not going off the tropical acres and limiting how many people can go. This birthday is for all 35,000 residents, not just 200. So I am totally against that.
Commissioner James?
Is there a date on this, or are we trying to come up with a date? Because we've been coming up with some dates for certain things, and certain things we can't come up with dates on. And so I'm really confused at when we can come up with dates and when we can't come up with dates.
A couple of dates. That's why I said I have to keep it in November. Otherwise, the Tropical Acre provided a few alternate dates in January if we didn't feel we could get it together by November 10th.
For how many people?
Well, I don't know. We couldn't even come up for a date in November for a workshop. So how can we come up for a date for 2 more things after the workshop if we can't come up for a date for the workshop in November?
Well, I mean, if people couldn't, I don't know, name a date in that time, I don't know why they would be precluded from figuring out if they can attend something on November 10th, and if they cannot, then we have 1, 2.
What is the time frame on the November 10th? Like, we say we have 90% of this figured out. So I would like to see what's on the menu, and then I would like to see what time it starts, what time it ends, how many people, the decor.
It's 200 people, and I mean, I would say I'm not going to keep coming back and just like bringing the menu for approval and things like that.
But we all should be a part of it, right? Of what we're gonna, of what.
We can all be a part of it, absolutely, but in terms of, menu planning, do you want the omelet station versus do you want the potato station, that we're not going to be able to accommodate.
So we can't know what's gonna be on the menu at our event.
No, you can't know specifically what's going to be on the item. No, you can't choose what's going to be on the item, the menu, but I'm sure that they can provide a sample menu for us of what they're going to provide, but.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they're providing the food, they can't tell us what food they're gonna provide?
Sure, I think they can do that. I'm saying, we don't have the time to say, okay, well, I don't like that, can we do this instead?
Yeah, it's 4 weeks. I want to know, like, what's the breakdown of the funds that we're going to use?
For the 3,000?
Correct.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I want the same breakdown that we had a breakdown that we had to show and provide, even with the Day After Dark.
That's not a
all the way
problem.
from a microphone. So I want to see the same breakdown and see, if we're doing this together or if we're just planning it. I don't want it
That's
to be.
not a problem.
I don't want it to feel like it's just put together.
That's fine. We can provide like a line items of what everything would be included within the 3,000 that I'm asking for.
I'm more favoring doing it in January where we have
Okay.
more time to kind of go through things and it doesn't feel, last minute rushed.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so there are 4 dates in January. Perhaps we could have Chris. It's basically the four Sundays. We could have Chris email us the 4 dates tomorrow, and everyone could see which one there's consensus for, and then
The time. Can she tell us like a time?
and the time as well. And then, so what I'm asking for tonight is just consensus to move forward with doing that and to have $3,000 allocated for that event. Do I have consensus for that?
I'm fine with it. So
That's 3. Thank you.
Next item is a food truck ordinance. Commissioner James?
Yes, I'm bringing this back because it kind of died here last time, and I want to know what we all want to decide with this. We've been talking about this since, I don't know, April, May, or something like that. So Mark, if you could please, if we can tell him if we want to revisit this, if we never want to visit this again, because I know I asked for something to be brought back, but the discussion here afterwards was kind of like up in the air, so I wanted to see what you all felt about the food truck ordinance, if you feel like we still need one, if we want to try to dive into this, or we want to just kill it off.
Anybody? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I absolutely want this. What? I know, me too. I want a cafecito. Yeah, I absolutely want this, and I believe I had messaged you too, asking you what had happened, and you gave me an answer of what had happened. So I'm glad that Commissioner James brought it up, and it sounds like there's just some work that that we need to do on it, and to see if we can give it some legs and make it work. The concerns last time were valid, but they were by no means insurmountable. So I think it just, it needed a new haircut from you.
I don't have much hair to cut. Yeah, there was some discussion, but I didn't think we really got to a real consensus, and if that's something the commission would like to do, then that's wonderful. I remember the last time some of the concerns were about the brick and mortar restaurants, and that they can oftentimes object or feel as though their businesses are being hindered. There was also concern about the ability to be able to just have food trucks kind of travel and stop at different locations. And I think that's problematic as it relates to some of the code requirements that food trucks have in order to be safe with propane tanks. So that might be more limited than what we originally thought when we looked at this 6 or 7 months ago. And I think there was also some discussion about how we would manage this as it relates to like city events or city properties and things like that. And the response, I think, for that would be it could just be handled like we do now for like Dania After Dark, and that it's a special event, and the city commission approves that and applies any kind of conditions that they think is necessary. So maybe in retrospect, we're kind of narrowing it down a little bit more about allowing food trucks on private property for an event. Is that the scope of what you're looking at, or is it something that's different or expanded beyond that?
I was looking at beyond special events.
On private property, though, is kind of the point I'm making. We know how to handle it on city properties.
Right, but for it to be able to be on private property, such as like a gas station or something like that, and the ability to be there for a predetermined amount of time, I think like a maximum of 4 to 5 weeks, and what the times need to be, and the distance between where they're located to the next business establishment that serves food. I recall that was the big one, was how these were going to affect our in-city restaurants. So
I nominate the vice mayor to go and workshop this with Mark and bring us back something.
we already have a couple dates, Mark, so if you just want to tack this on.
We meet Friday, actually. We meet this Friday. We could just cover this.
Because one of the things that stood out to me when I spoke with Mark last week about this ordinance, was he told me that every time the food truck stops and it's going to serve some food, it's supposed to have an inspection. And so we really have to look at this and say, I remember Commissioner Harris one time was like, oh, I want to call a food truck over one Friday and they have to get an inspection first. And a permit, and an application, and an approval. And so you can have all that.
Commissioner Harris, if you'll give Mark and I the time to work together on this, I think we could bring back something that you guys will be really excited about, and maybe we could get approval then. Thanks.
Is that good, Mark?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Brandon.
No, just a reminder about the cancer benefit that's going to be at the casino on October the 13th. That's all. I'm tired tonight. I'm going to go home.
Commissioner Harris.
thanks everybody for hanging in there tonight. I know it's been a long meeting, but also on Halloween night at C.W. Thomas Park, trunk or treat, wear your costumes, there'll be a lot of candy. Trunk or treat, it's it. That's the place to be on that night. And BSO will be doing a night out for crime as well, right, Chief? Yes, sir. Okay, so you'll see all the big guns out there, literally.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
it's the 31st, October 31st. What time does it start?
I don't know.
It's
5 to
usually
8.
5 o'clock. It's
5 to
5
8.
o'clock.
5 to 8.
Yeah.
Trunk or treat, be there, or be square.
You reported on it to go say one time.
Commissioner James?
Yes, a reminder, sorry, Tom, but this isn't on our calendar, but Thursday at 11 a.m. is the C-Tech tour. Wanted you all to, yeah, see, this is why I did the reminder. It's this Thursday, we all agreed on that date at 11 o'clock a.m. at FAU. It's going to be the boat tour right here at our beach. What's wrong, Vice Mayor?
Commissioner, does this involve going on a boat?
I mean, they have the little things you can put on your wrists. It's just a waterway right there. It's not, we're not going like deep sea fishing or anything like.
You're not going to need anything for seasickness.
They have the little things, put on your wrist, you'll be okay.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome. The breast cancer touches here are really nice. I want to thank the city. I want to thank the city manager. You know, I asked her what we were doing in honor of breast cancer awareness. I know former Mayor Grace had been very instrumental in doing a lot of things right here in the lobby for breast cancer awareness. So I'm glad that we see big, bold changes in support of that. That's very important. I wanted to just say a lot of the concerns that I've been hearing, I've heard good things and I've heard negative things about the Saratoga project. And that I think that I'm not sure if they're reaching out to all of you or just to me, but some of the residents are having a hard time. Placement, they're going from, they used to be able to be in a 3-bedroom to now having to come back to a 1-bedroom and having to live in a bed and share a room with their child. A lot of the issues that I brought up at the beginning, which was why I did not support the funding part of it, because they could not guarantee certain things within that contract, is happening now. And so if you all get those phone calls and those emails, or if you see people in the community, I'm sure they'll share those concerns with you all. And I know my son, he left early, but he was homecoming king this past weekend on his football team. So Mommy loves you, Dion, and you know he was homecoming prince last year, and he's homecoming king this year, and so you can't tell him anything this week. So I just wanted to tell him congratulations again, and I'll see you all. I won't be Catwoman this year, but I'll see you all at the on the 31st.
Vice Mayor.
In the interest of time, I'll defer my comments for this evening. Thank you.
Me too, actually. I actually had several things, but it can wait till the next meeting, and I think I'll actually have more. I know I'll have more updates at that point as well. Anyway, on a couple of things. So, appointments. Does anybody have any appointments for the Complete Count Advisory Committee?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Jeffrey Robeson.
Good.
His address is somewhere on citizens' comments.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'll have one next time. Creative Arts Council Advisory Board, Commissioner James?
No, Linda Wilson is going to help me find someone since the vice mayor stole my appointment last time.
Okay. Dania Beach Housing Authority, I'd like to reappoint Bill Winkelholtz. Do we need a motion to go ahead to approve these? Or do we need to do them separately? Okay, well, we'll do the first one with the Complete Count Advisory Committee. Mr. Roberson, do we have a...
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. My appointment of Mr. Winkelholtz.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Administrative report, City Manager.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just want to let you know that this evening, with a partnership of BSO Fire and BSO Law Enforcement, working with our Public Services team, they are going to be supporting our efforts to identifying any and all streetlights that may be out throughout our city. I know that Commissioner James and the Vice Mayor and the Mayor and Commissioner Harris working with us and identifying road challenges, lights, and I figured, these guys are out throughout the night, 24/7. So basically, we're just expanding our team, and I'm just very grateful to them that tonight we're going to kick off this very important program, More Eyes on the Street, identifying lights and communicating to our Public Services team. Also want to let you know that this year we're going to be embarking in a transportation and transit study. I've been meeting with the Vice Mayor on all these different new multimodals and ways of moving our people around, but if we don't have that plan in place, it's really not the best way of doing things, so we're excited about that. Public Services has a game plan, and we've started this because for the longest time, we had not been paving our streets. We had been patching our streets. 2019 and fiscal year 2020, thanks to your support, we're going to be paving more than 4 miles of streets here in our city rather than patching. We're going to be milling and we're going to be striping and paving. We're going to have our storm drainage master plan that's going to be coming up. Our goal is really to be proactive rather than be reactive. We're going to be working with Public Services and having our citywide landscaping master plan. As you can see, a lot of our medians and thoroughfares need some sprucing up. An overall plan to mitigate and deter illegal dumping. Corey and the team is doing a fantastic job, but we want to make sure that we are that city that is proactive and not only want to be safer, but we want to also be more aesthetically pleasing. The city's 5-year capital improvement plan is on its way. Thank you to your support. And an assessment and cleanup of Federal Highway is coming up. That has been identified by several of you. As well as a citywide signage assessment. And also this year, thanks to your support on this budget, we're going to be installing and purchasing our lime slaker, which is key and is an essential process for our water treatment. So with that, this concludes my manager's report. Thank you.
City Attorney.
Nothing to add to that.
City Clerk.
Upcoming meeting reminders, Monday, October 28th at 7 p.m. is your City Commission meeting. Please note that I said Monday, October 28th, rather than Tuesday. Then you have your regular CRE Board meeting Tuesday, November 12th at 5:30, followed by a regular City Commission meeting at 7 p.m. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, everybody, thank you for hanging out. Good night.
Sound.